in the form of an extra tax refund.
After today, Georgians who filed jointly will receive $500. Single filers will receive $250, and heads of households will receive $375.
And the second bill creates the largest income tax cut in Georgia history, dropping it 2/10, I should say, of a percent to 5.19%. All right, your weather for today, partly cloudy, cooler and breezy. Afternoon highs right there around 70. Some of those winds could be gusting up to 30 miles an hour today. WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards will have Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast coming up at 12:05. Happening right now, crime scene investigators are on the scene after a woman has been shot to death at a DeKalb County motel. The shooting happened this morning around 7:30 at a motel at 1700 Crescent Center Boulevard. Police found a woman who had been shot. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, but she died from her injuries. The victim has not yet been identified. Police asking anybody with information to give them a call. You can remain anonymous. A new report today shows the late actor Gene Hackman's property was infested with rats.
Maintenance workers found the bodies of Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa in their Santa Fe home in February.
I think we just found one deceased person inside a house.
Hackman died of heart disease and severe Alzheimer's. Arakawa died of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, which is contracted through exposure to rodent droppings. Now, a New Mexico Health Department report says dead and living rats and rodent feces were found in the couple's garages, cars, casitas, and sheds, but not in their primary residence.
That's correspondent Michael Wallace reporting this noon. Emergency rooms at Northeast Georgia Medical Center and their urgent care locations will now be monitored for wait times, so you can log on and see how long the wait is at various locations. The wait time tracker covers 5 emergency rooms and 11 urgent care locations. Now let's talk about your drive. A plan to improve traffic safety goes before the Sandy Springs City Council tonight.
Over the last year, a study group has reviewed data to identify areas of greatest need for upgrades and traffic calming measures.
To see where we could really make a difference on minimizing crash dangers.
The city's Kristen Westcott says there have been over 27,000 crashes in the city over the last 5 years. Area resident Vladimir Shlavoski tells Channel 2 Action News you don't have to look hard to find improvement opportunities on Roswell Road.
Even where there is sidewalk, it's broken old concrete with no curb protection, no separation between the road and where people are walking.
Public input precedes the presentation of the plan to the council at tonight's 6 o'clock meeting. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
From the roads to the air now, Wallet Hub ranks the best airline, and Spirit Airlines comes out on top. It was rated the best overall because of the affordability and safety record. Rounding out the top 5, SkyWest, Atlanta-based Delta Airlines, JetBlue, and Southwest. Delta did rank as the most reliable airline with the lowest rate of cancellations, delays, mishandled luggage, and denied boardings. Wallet Hub analyzed 2024 flight data from the U.S. Department of Transportation to come up with these rankings today. New this noon, the White House responding now to new legal action over President Trump's tariffs. Karen Travers has more from the White House.
The White House is dismissing a lawsuit filed by a group of small business owners who say the president doesn't have the power to impose tariffs. The group urged a federal court to declare the tariffs unlawful, saying the national emergency the president used to justify this action is a, quote, figment of his own imagination. The White House says the president's tariff policy, quote, levels the playing field for businesses and workers and addresses a, quote, national emergency of chronic trade deficits.
All right, if you're looking for work, we have something you want to hear then. There's a huge job fair underway right now at the Cobb County Civic Center. It's being held today until 2 o'clock. A diverse group of private businesses and government agencies are on hand to take your resume and discuss job opportunities. Among the companies on site, Life University, T-Mobile, Wellstar, Kennesaw State University, Cobb County Police, and schools there taking your resumes and applications. Let's take a look at the market, see how your money's working for you. The Dow's up 135 at 40,660. NASDAQ is also up a little more than 0.5%, and the S&P's up 0.5% here on your lunch hour. It's time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams, how are we looking on the roads?
We are in recovery mode on 285 west and southbound. The outer loop out of Sandy Springs into Vinings. That earlier rollover crash cleared at Paces Ferry Road, exit 18. That's also slowed 75 southbound out of Marietta, but again, all lanes are back open, so those delays will start to improve. Jammed up into DeKalb County with right lane construction. I-20 eastbound before Panola Road, exit 71, seeing some delays from Wesley Chapel. example. And I believe that construction out of Lawrenceville, 316 westbound around Sugarloaf Parkway is wrapped up. Delays have improved heading over to I-85 in the Duluth area. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
And it's time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored here at noon by Shoemate, the official air conditioning of Atlanta. Here's WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards.
A mix of sun and clouds today as a cold front swings through. Little to no rain associated with this cold front, but temperatures will drop to the upper 60s, low 70s through the afternoon hours. Wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. Chilly for tonight as temperatures fall to the mid 40s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high 71. Thursday, mostly sunny, morning low 48, afternoon high 75. Turning hotter by Friday, mostly sunny, high 84. Saturday and Sunday, partly cloudy skies, highs in the mid to upper 80s.
We have 64 degrees here in Midtown Atlanta. More news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. I'm delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, and so much more. Very, very happy to have you with me. We got a lot to talk about today, particularly since I was out yesterday. A lot of you emailed and asked if I was still sick. No, so I was really sick on Friday. I was bad sick on Friday. Had a stomach bug. But yesterday, my son was in a regional high school tennis tournament, and so I was with him, watching him play tennis. Didn't win, but actually did pretty good. So it was a fun day to hang out with him. So I am back, and it is tax day. Tax day, my friends. When he was president of the United States, George W. Bush, at the beginning of his second term, before he wanted to do amnesty and Harry and Myers and all that stuff, he had two ideas. The first idea was to privatize Social Security, and the way it would have worked was if you were under 40, you'd be transitioned into the new system. If you were between 40 and 50, you could opt in all or half of your retirement. And if you were over 50, you stayed in the existing system, and the government would essentially float debt to keep your Social Security payments coming, so you would be made whole. If you were under the age of 40 and you were now retiring at this point, you would have about 3 to 4 times more in retirement. The way the system worked was that over time it would adjust and move more towards bonds and away from stock, adjusting every few years. And by the time you got to retirement, you have a stable income. You would all be financially better off now if you were hitting retirement based on what George W. Bush wanted at the time. And yet Congress, the Republicans, rejected it. It was a good idea we should go back to. The other idea that George W. Bush had was that if you were a standard deduction, no itemized deductions, salaried employee, and all of your other income just came from like dividends and things like that, that the IRS would send you a statement line itemizing your W-2s and your 1099s and say, based on this, here's what you owe, taking the standard deductions. And if you objected, you could file a tax return. If you liked it, you either replied back with a check or you got a refund. You did not have to go, well, a lot of private tax filing firms said, no, this cuts into our business. You should let us do it. And the government went along with it, much to their detriment. Elizabeth Warren, I don't agree with her on much, but she's complaining that TurboTax and some of these tax outlets are making it very hard for people to realize that they are not using the free services. They're actually using a paid service. It's kind of it's not a good system. TurboTax is not an easy, the tax code is not an easy thing to figure out, and TurboTax, frankly, isn't a great setup. And, well, I think the government itself, if they followed George W. Bush's idea, we would actually be better off as a people because most people who take the standard deduction and are salaried employees would never have to worry about filing income tax. They'd either get their refund or they would write an additional supplemental check to the government. And if you contested it, if you didn't like it, you could challenge it and file your taxes and prove it. It just would have been a much more straightforward situation than what we have right now, with a lot of these private companies making it very difficult for you to use the free system if you're a lower middle class or poor person who does owe some tax or might need to get a refund back. It's a garbage system, frankly. But one of my biggest objections to the American tax code, other than the onerousness of it, is it is so complex it's created entire industries. Well, I have a very good accountant, and a buddy of mine when I got into business gave me a great piece of advice. He said that you should forget your lawyer. You want an accountant you would take to a knife fight. I would take my accountant to a knife fight any day of the week. He is ruthless and takes care of me and protects me, but he shouldn't exist, and he knows I feel this way. There are people of high net worth who do need tax accountants and the like for a lot of their business, for their family foundations, things like that. But the run-of-the-mill person should not have to go to Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block, TurboTax, or anywhere else. They shouldn't have to do it. The tax code is too complicated for the little guy. It's too complicated for the middle class. It's too complicated for the small businessman. Just take my situation, for example. I have a very small business. I've got good revenue, but it's not a fabulously wealthy company. I can't afford to fly private or anything like that, despite what I would like or what some people think. I've got 3-4 employees, and I am having to do this weird thing with an accountant where I kind of split money between I get distributions from the company and then I get some salary from the company, and every year the salary's got to be adjusted, keep the distributions so that the company pays most of the tax and I don't pay the tax. It's a very complicated system. I wound up cutting my salary, getting more on the back end as a distribution from the company to bypass taxes. I would have never known to do this, and yet there are all sorts of these complications and loopholes that you don't necessarily need to exist in the tax code. And part of the issue now is that the Republicans in Congress are looking at redoing the tax code to a degree to make it easier on the middle class and the working class to deal with taxes, but risking complicating it on the other side at a time that the Trump administration is trying to undergo massive deregulations in order to lower the cost of doing business in the country. Part of the real and legitimate problem we have in the country right now is that the tax code is so complicated that a lot of people cannot keep their head above water just in dealing with the tax code. It is an extremely complicated set of rules, and it grows. And it's not just the tax code. It is also the regulations that come with the tax code to interpret the tax code. Donald Rumsfeld, April 15th, 2014, sent this wonderful letter to the IRS. I have sent in our federal income tax and our gift tax returns for 2013. As in prior years, it is important for you to know that I have absolutely no idea whether our tax return and our tax payments are accurate. I say that despite the fact that I am a college graduate and I try hard to make make sure our tax returns are accurate. The tax code is so complex and the forms are so complicated that I know that I cannot have any confidence that I know what is being requested, and therefore I cannot and do not know, and I suspect a great many Americans cannot know whether or not their tax returns are accurate. As in past years, I have spent more money than I wanted to spend to hire an accounting firm to prepare our tax returns, and I believe they are well qualified. This note is to alert you folks that I know that I do not know whether or not my tax returns are accurate, which is a sad commentary on governance in our nation's capital. If you have any questions, let me know and I will ask our accountants to be in touch with you to try to provide any additional information you think you may need. I do hope that at some point in my lifetime, and I'm now in my 80s, so there are not many years left, the U.S. government will simplify the U.S. tax code so that those citizens who sincerely want to pay what they should are able to do it right and know that they have done it right. I should add that my wife of 59 years, also a college graduate, has signed our joint return, but she also knows that she does not have any idea whether or not our tax payments are accurate. Sincerely, Donald Rumsfeld. That's such a great letter. That was from 2014. He had left. He was retired by then. He passed away a few years ago. God bless him. Great guy and absolutely right. I have no idea. In fact, I forgot to file my taxes. Except for I was so focused on getting my business taxes done this year, I forgot about my own personal tax deadline. And so, yeah, my accountants had to file an extension for me because I emailed them the other day. I was like, I totally forgot it was time to pay taxes. And they said that they had already filed the extension because they knew life was busy for me. Steve Scalise was on Fox Business talking about the tax code and tax changes that may come.
Do you expect that you will see those tax cuts become permanent?
Yeah, that's our goal, and we can do both of those things you just mentioned. Number one, make sure we keep tax rates low and get control over spending, which both are things that people want all across this country. And unfortunately, Democrats in Washington are adamantly opposed to. So we're going to continue fighting to get that done.
So where are you in the process? You left on Friday for the Easter recess and was able to pass that budget resolution. Tell us about the work that begins when you come back in 2 weeks.
Right. This whole reconciliation process is this two-step process. You first have to pass the budget. We've now done that. The House and Senate had some minor differences. We got an agreement on those two and some really important commitments from the Senate so that now we're both talking the same language, in essence, when we start the reconciliation process when we return from Easter. So we have a very aggressive time frame. We have 11 committees in the House that have been working for months, Maria, to be ready for this moment. We've been talking with President Trump going back over a year ago, where we've been laying out the foundation for how to keep tax rates low, how to produce more energy in America, which will be in this bill, how to fund the president's border security measures, which will also be in this bill, some other important things, all in this one big beautiful bill. We're going to move it quickly because the economy is waiting for this to happen. You've heard numbers like trillions of dollars sitting on the sidelines until they see what the tax code looks like. So let's lock it in. Let's get permanency on the tax rates. Let's get real energy production and economic growth so that we can get the economy moving, get more wages in people's pockets, and lower costs at the grocery store, at the gas pump. All that's going to happen when we get this bill passed.
Part of the problem, though, is that the House and the Senate cannot agree on the parameters of the bill, the big, beautiful bill. They've now agreed on the budget resolution, but the House conservatives, remember, they were promised they would get bigger cuts in order to pass the final bill. And the House conservatives are saying if they don't get those cuts, that they agreed to the budget resolution to let it pass in exchange for a real commitment from the Senate and the House to make more cuts. If they don't get the cuts, they're not going to pass the bill. The New York Republicans say they're not going to pass the bill unless they increase the SALT deduction. That's the state and local tax deduction. The House conservatives say if you increase it too much, they're not going to vote for the bill. Some of the House conservatives say if they don't completely rescind the Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Deal package, they're not going to vote for it. And so the Senate and the House leaders, with a very narrow margin in the House, they're having to cut some deals, and they're not sure they're going to be able to cut all of the deals they need to cut in order to be able to save the money they need to save in order to give the president his tax plan. On top of that, Senate Republicans, they want to make it permanent. They don't want to have Donald Trump's tax cuts expire with an automatic tax increase in the future, like what will happen if they don't renew the deal this year. See, the tax cuts that were passed in 2018 expire at the end of this year. So if you don't renew them, everybody's taxes go up next year. Now, some House Republicans want to raise taxes on upper-income Americans. They actually want to do a tax increase. They become the Democrats. They want to tax the rich to redistribute the money to the poor. Very Democrat, very socialist, very Marxist. They don't want every American to have a tax cut. Never mind the fact that jobs in this country are created by wealthy people. You tax them too much, they become less wealthy. They become less able to invest in their companies. They become less able to create jobs, less willing to help the economy. It's not a good situation. But the reason they're thinking they want to raise money on the wealthy is because they want to do the no tax on tips thing. Donald Trump been very insistent about no tax on tips. It's looking like it's going to be harder and harder to actually get that done. And then there's the problem inside the restaurant industry to begin with. That's where this came from. What about the cooks in the kitchen who don't make tips? Why are you going to penalize them over people at the front of the house? Are you going to incentivize now a tipping culture in this country that bypasses taxes and causes a reduction in taxes? That will affect the bottom line if the Congressional Budget Office says so. It's become a very, very, very complicated deal. Now, here's the punchline, and I love this about him. This is not a criticism of Donald Trump. This is a praise. Every time the House and Senate Republicans go to him for further guidance, he's like, hey, I got something else to cut from the tax code. I think we should cut it all. I'm glad he is where I am. The problem is it makes it very hard for them to cut a deal to get this done by the 4th of July to reassure the markets and calm down economic sentiment in the country.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1220 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. If you're traveling I-20 eastbound through DeKalb County, you're going to run into some brake lights. I-20 eastbound leaving Wesley Chapel out toward Panola Road, exit 71. That is due to construction in the right lane heading toward Lithonia. Still got 2 right lanes blocked. 285 southbound, the outer loop, Highway 166, Langford Parkway. And just found some trouble in the right lane, 285 westbound, the inner loop, Riverdale Road, exit 60. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off, and for UPS shipping, add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Hey, Taxman got you down?
How about a $1,000 pickup?
Win $1,000. 5 different keywords. 5 chances every weekday.
I just won $1,000 on WSB.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
Beginning Monday, April 21st.
Download the WSB app. Rules and info at WSBradio.com/cash.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
This is Scott Slade, and this is my health story. I get a checkup every year. In last September, my primary care physician was troubled by a suspicious number on my lab work. I'll never forget his words. I want somebody looking over my shoulder on this. Well, that led to a diagnosis early enough to give me options and optimism for a good outcome. When we're talking about our health, we shouldn't be shy. I think it's important to talk about what can kill you or rob you of your quality of life. Heart disease is still the nation's #1 killer. And what I think should be right up there with it, procrastination. We all need expert eyes looking us over every so often to spot problems while we still have options to deal with them. That's where virtual imaging comes in. They've got the best CT imaging in the Southeast with 98% accuracy and low radiation, like flying in an airplane. They can detect calcium levels in your arteries and most cancers at the earliest stage. And virtual imaging can scan your brain to see if you're in danger of a tumor, stroke, or even dementia. I am living proof that preventive medicine can save lives. So don't put this off, especially with this offer from Virtual Imaging. For a limited time, they're offering you and your spouse a free heart scan. Yes, free, with a few minimum requirements. I've done it. Call 404-678-SCAN. That's 404-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com. Do it now, while you still have options.
Properties come in all shapes and sizes, and so do foundation repairs. Mark Beckham here. It could be new construction, a big house, a small house, or your commercial property. Anyway, you need the leaders in foundation repair to handle it. Get your free estimate at atlantaramjack.com.
Dave Baker here for Overhead Door Company of Atlanta. Let's talk garage doors. Your garage door, is it too loud? Does it let outside air in around the frame? Overhead Door Company of Atlanta will make it all better this month only, and for only $79 $79. They'll perform their full 26-task garage door tune-up. That's just $79 for up to 3 garage doors and openers. You need this done once a year anyway, so why not now and for just $79? Schedule now at overheaddooratlanta.com.
This is Anthony George, the pastor of First Baptist Church of Atlanta. Our church has celebrated Easter Sunday in Atlanta for over 175 years, but you could make this year our best Easter yet. Whether you've never been to church or it's been a while since you went to church, why not give it a try this Easter Sunday? For more information, visit the website for First Baptist Atlanta. That's fba.org. We hope to see you there.
At Butler Lexus of South Atlanta, buying a car is more than a transaction. It's a 5-star experience because they value you. Enjoy personalized offers and luxury perks, all designed with you in mind. Visit ButlerLexusSouthAtlanta.com or call 800-NEW-LEXUS today. Butler Lexus South Atlanta, the standard of amazing.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. You may not agree with him, but he tells you the truth. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
Greetings, welcome. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would love to have you with me. Now, because I wasn't here yesterday, it just humor me, please. Humor me on this. Rory McIlroy, my high heart rate alert went off on my phone. I am a Rory McIlroy fan. If you listen to the show for a long time, you know I like Scotty Scheffler a ton, but I've been rooting for Rory McIlroy to get his Grand Slam, and he got it in the most Rory McIlroy way possible. Now, for those of you who don't keep up with golf, first of all, I got to tell you, I think that this Masters was more exciting than the Super Bowl, the World Series, hockey playoffs. It was incredible. The twists and turns, the ups and downs. Was it Patrick Reed who he at one point hit and it went into he couldn't even tell it went into the hole. The crowd was cheering. He had no idea what they were cheering for. It was just remarkable. But so for those of you who don't keep up, those of you who say you don't care, what you need to understand is that historically, Rory McIlroy gets to the end of a competition where he's ahead and then has a bad putt or a bad wedge shot, and he loses at the end. He's ahead until the end, and then he loses. And this has been the story of his life now for the last number of years. And it looked like it was happening, and he was ahead at the Masters. He was 14 strokes ahead. The nearest guy, Justin Rose, was up 9-10 strokes ahead of everybody else, under par, I guess I should say. And here comes Rory, has one bad hole, and then he hits it in Rays Creek, the water. And then he messes again, and then he gets to the 18th hole, and he misses the putt. And he's got to go into a playoff. And it's another putt. Now, you should know that he lost the U.S. Open against Bryson DeChambeau last year because of a putt at the end. And here he comes, playoff, and he makes it. And the emotion of someone who's been rooting for it, the ups and downs, and at one point I had to turn it off. I was like, I can't watch. I don't want to watch this. And it was incredible. It was probably the best Masters competition ever. This is the second playoff the Masters Justin Rose has been in, and he lost. But what good people. Wow, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible. What's also incredible is how much money you can save from Vision Computers. They can build you a computer and save you money, and then they give you their world-class 5-star tech support. You should go. Don't take my word for it. I mean, I'm an advertiser. I'm also a customer, but I'm their advertiser. Just go online. Google Vision Computers, and you can see the thousands of 5-star reviews on their tech support, on the computers they build. We've got one in our house. This is why I'm an advertiser for them. They built a gaming PC for my son. It was out of my depth. I'm a Mac guy. He wanted a gaming PC. My gosh, they got him set up. In fact, he called them a week ago because he didn't know how to do it, and their tech support people answered the phone immediately. guided him through tying his Xbox controller into the. It just the whole thing blew my mind that he could do all this with this great graphic card. They're so helpful. Their resources, their availability for email support, printer support, you name it. And if you just want their tech support, you can do that too. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. Call them, tell them I sent you. You'll save even more money. 404-COMPUTE or VisionComputers.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Jim Ellis Automotive. Governor Kemp has now signed a couple of bills into law today that gives Georgians extra cash. Before signing the bills, he said this to the media.
I'm also looking forward to seeing the impact of the two bills that I will sign today, putting money back where it belongs, in the pockets of you all, hardworking Georgians.
Now, one of the bills gives Georgians extra tax refunds ranging from $250 to $500.
This is the third special one-time refund like this that we have enacted.
And the other bill creates the largest income tax cut in Georgia history, dropping it 0.2% to 5.19%. It is tax day in most of the country, but here in Georgia, we do have until May 1st to file our taxes because of Hurricane Helene. So do you do your own taxes? The Taxpayer Advocate Service says more than half of taxpayers use some sort of certified expert.
Because I could not do it myself. That's so much time and effort that I'm too scared.
As long as it gets it out the way. I don't want to face any penalties. I don't want no problems with the IRS.
It's always better to pay somebody to do it than you do it yourself.
Last year, the IRS issued more than 120 million tax refunds, totaling more than $461 billion. Nearly 16 million of those refunds included refundable child tax credits. Your weather for today: partly cloudy, breezy, cooler. Afternoon highs only around 70-ish, maybe 72 if we're lucky. And the winds will be gusting up to 30 miles an hour today, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. A Metro Atlanta man has started his hike to the top of the world while raising funds for veterans and their families.
Retired Navy Lieutenant Commander Brian O'Malley hopes to become the first person over the age of 60 from the state of Georgia to reach the top of Mount Everest.
I don't have a whole lot of fear. I've lived a good life, and, my belief is, when God wants me, he's going to take me.
He made an initial trip to base camp in Nepal last month, but is now attempting to climb more than 10,000 feet further up.
I'm going to be on the mountain for about 2 months.
He's using the trip as a fundraiser for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
It's 12:32.
It's Eric Erickson here. Every single day now, I deal with a malicious request to click a link. My daughter the other day got a text message some of you have probably gotten. Click on it and pay your toll, and it's just a scam. All these things keep happening. They're preying upon the young, senior citizens, and you and me. But there's good news. Vision Computer is here to help you. If you have their managed service, you're never alone, and in just 15 seconds, expert tech support is at your fingertips, ready to protect you from online threats, scams, and computer problems. And you don't have to take my word for it. We're a Vision Computer household, but they've got thousands of 5-star reviews beyond my household reviews, but I'd give them 5 stars too. They've got thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews because they're simply the best. Call them at 404-COMPUTE today or visit them online at visioncomputers.com, because when it comes to your security, you can't afford to wait. Vision will take care of you. Tell them I sent you. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com.
Stay comfortable at home all year long with Jape Services. Hi, this is Daniel Jape, and our team has decades of experience servicing Atlanta's heating and cooling needs, which means you can count on us. We're licensed, insured, and I personally guarantee when you call Jape Services, you'll be treated just like family. Call us 24/7 or book online at japeservices.com. That's JAPE services.com.
Jape Services. Wet spots or water streaks on your ceiling, drywall, or chimney? Your roof is leaking. Home Fix It host Dave Baker. Get a free roof analysis from my trusted experts, Finley Roofing. The roof guys. No obligation, no charge. FinleyRoofing.com. Roof.
At Coosa Valley Credit Union, we're committed to saving our members money by offering the most competitive interest rates in the market. Now, auto loan rates are as low as 4.49 APR. But if you open an account with a direct deposit, we'll knock your rate down a whole %, as low as 3.49 APR. This is Andy Harris, president of Coosa Valley Credit Union. Save money on your auto loan and experience kinder banking at a branch near you.
Contact 706-235-8551 for more details. Equal Opportunity Lender.
Beaver Direct Certified, providing the highest quality vehicles at the very best prices. Every vehicle undergoes rigorous reconditioning with an industry-leading 12-month, 12,000-mile certified warranty. Visit us at beavertoyotacumming.com and see why everyone loves Beaver Direct.
All right, Alex Williams, how are we looking on the roads?
Travel advisory by the airport. Crash, 2 right lanes, 285 westbound, the Interloop Riverdale Road, exit 60. Take Forest Parkway to Riverdale Road as your alternate. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A mix of sun and clouds today, breezy and cool. Highs in the upper 60s, low 70s. Wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour.
All right, we'll have more news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, even when it isn't popular. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome, greetings. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, reminder for those of you new to this, you're going to want to be here on Friday. The Good Friday show, a unique tradition to this program, started years ago, and well, now they pretty much expect me to do it, or else. Okay, I gotta get to the Harvard situation, because the Harvard situation is one of the more interesting fights the Trump administration has decided to pick. Hillsdale College is an advertiser. They're actually off this week, but Hillsdale, longtime advertiser, great friends of the program and of mine. When I'm in Washington, D.C., I use Hillsdale's radio studio to broadcast this program. And Hillsdale College in 2014, I believe it was, got sued by the Obama administration. Do you know why? Because Hillsdale College refused to comply with government requirements on hirings, on firings, on diversity, equity, and inclusion, all sorts of things the government requires that colleges comply with. Hillsdale College said no. And Hillsdale College takes exactly $0 from the federal government. The Obama administration sued and said simply by taking advantage of 501c3 nonprofit tax status, Hillsdale College has to comply with federal mandates for higher education. Hillsdale College fought and won the case, with the courts ruling that just because you take advantage of the nonprofit status under the tax code doesn't mean you're bound to everything because you're not taking any federal money. The difference between Hillsdale College and Harvard is that Harvard takes federal dollars. In fact, Harvard University takes multiple billions of dollars from the federal government. Something like $2.2 billion to up to $5 billion. The money goes to research, goes to educational grants. A lot of it goes to engineering and scientific and medical research, but it's billions of dollars. Now, for perspective, Harvard has an endowment of like $59 billion. It's the largest academic endowment in the United States. Yale is number 2, and it's about half the size of Harvard's endowment. Harvard is a highly wealthy institution. And the Trump administration has come calling. It has told Harvard it must do several things if it wants to keep the gravy train coming. One, it's got to shut down its DEI programs. 2, it needs to start screening foreign applicants for anti-American views and sympathies for terrorism and not allow those students to come to Harvard. And 3, it's got to shake up faculty control of Harvard. It needs to have more administration say and less faculty say in the governance of Harvard. Now, let me pivot to my alma mater. I love my alma mater. My daughter goes to my alma mater, Mercer University. Mercer University, I know the president. He's a great guy. My wife worked for the former president. I got to tell you, I was really enamored with Samford when I took my son to see Samford University over in Birmingham, Alabama. Mercer, when I was there, was a Baptist school. It is not anymore, and I think there's a loss on that campus. It's not really a woke campus, although I got to tell you, it's got some wokes there. It does. The stories from my kid and some of her friends on campus are kind of hilarious, but my alma mater, Mercer, has a law school, and that law school is very faculty-run, and the faculty over time have become very, very progressive. In fact, the bar passage rate has sunk over time at my law. When I was there, it was in the 90s, and I think it's rebounded back into the 80s, maybe the 90s, but for a while there, it went into the 70s. And, of course, the progressive faculty went all in on criminal justice reform and Black Lives Matters and wokeism and stuff, and I know a number of the conservative students who have been there have reached out to me in the past how deeply uncomfortable they felt being at that law school. And it's very faculty dominated. It has a weak dean, and schools can be set up as having a strong administration or a weak administration. And the law school at my alma mater, pretty weak administration, very strong faculty say, and the faculty have just run the law school into the ground. I don't actually recommend my alma mater's law. I recommend my undergrad a ton. They've got great academic programs, but I don't much recommend the law school that much. Maybe things are changing. They do have now. The last dean, Kathy Cox, she was fantastic, but wasn't there long enough to exercise reforms. In any event, Harvard has a faculty that is explicitly engaged in the academy and setting standards at Harvard, and those faculty are deeply, deeply progressive. Look at Columbia University and the anti-Semitism that has come out of Columbia, not just from the students, but from the faculty. Same at Harvard. Conservative students do not feel welcome on campus, and they shouldn't. There's an explicit bias against conservatism at Harvard. There is at Yale. Much of the Ivy League has become extremely secular, extremely progressive. They want diversity so long as it's skin and sexual orientation and gender. They do not want intellectual diversity at these institutions anymore. They are flat out hostile to a conservative worldview. They don't like to give tenure to conservatives. And the Trump administration is saying, hey, you got to have more ideological diversity. We're not going, and this is the key here. The Trump administration is not telling Harvard, here are the number of conservatives you need to hire, and here's the brand of conservatism that you have to put on campus, and here's what these people need to believe. They're just saying, you got to have more intellectual diversity. Some colleges, you should know, have folded. Harvard, with a $50+ billion endowment, saying they can fight the good fight, and they don't have to fold, and so they're not. The Trump administration has today begun the process of pausing the money that goes to Harvard. Harvard claims that in a tweet from the president, Alan Garber, and a statement, no government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. Except Harvard has received $151 million from foreign governments between January 2020 and October of 2024, including more than $100 million in donations from the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bangladesh. Qatar, in particular, has been dumping a lot of money into the United States, into academic institutions, for nefarious grounds. The Qataris are one of the world's biggest backers of terrorism, and I cannot for this. I just don't understand why we are allowing the Qataris to try to shape so much policy in the United States when they're not honest players. This comes on the heels of China dumping a lot of money into academic institutions and building so-called Confucius institutes around the country, trying to indoctrinate people into pro-China worldviews. It's not a good or healthy setup. So Harvard has had $2.2 billion in grants from the Trump administration frozen. The freeze was announced hours after Harvard rejected demands to eliminate its DEI programs and screen international students for ideological concerns, including anti-Semitism. They get a total of $9 billion from the federal government, according to CNBC. The General Services Administration and the Department of Education responded with a statement detailing the freeze of $2.2 billion in multi-year grants and $60 million in multi-year contract value to Harvard. With this statement, Harvard's statement today reinforces the troubling entitlement mindset that is endemic in our nation's most prestigious universities and colleges, that federal investment does not come with the responsibility to uphold civil rights laws. The disruption of learning that has plagued campuses in recent years is unacceptable. The harassment of Jewish students is intolerable. It is time for elite universities to take the problem seriously and commit to meaningful change if they wish to continue receiving taxpayer support. Now, this is the Harvard spokesman's statement. For the government to retreat from these partnerships now risks not only the health and well-being of millions of individuals, but also the economic security and vitality of our nation. Friends, my fellow Americans, I think there is some value to public-private partnerships funding research facilities to develop new medicines. We have a lot of medicines that have come through these public-private partnerships that are actually very good. There are benefits to the government giving grants to poor kids to go to college. There are real benefits to the government assisting private institutions in supplementing their research. But we also have $35 trillion in national debt, and there are plenty of schools in the United States that are great research institutions. SEC schools come to mind that are not surrounded by a bunch of anti-Semitic wokes. You know, I've been saying for a while now, Bill Ackman and the guys at Apollo Global, who the management there has been upset with the University of Pennsylvania and other groups. Mark, what's his name there? You could hire from the SEC, and you're going to get top quality. Just even the ACC. You're going to get top quality academics from those institutions who probably have better work skills than the Ivy League kids. The Ivy League kids, many of them are pampered and entitled. It's actually a very good idea to look at the SEC. And as far as research goes, Georgia Tech, University of Georgia, University of North Carolina, University of Alabama, even the University of Alabama, you got to give them Auburn, LSU, they've got great research institutions. The medical research institutions at LSU, I'm familiar with as a kid, being from there. Pennington Medical Research there in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, near LSU, takes government funding, does remarkable research. There are plenty of research institutions in the country that are not also crawling with anti-Semitic wokes like the Ivy League is. They are not entitled to the funding. But these institutions think, I'm the Ivy League. I'm entitled to this money. No, you're not. And if anything, this is a very good wake-up call to all of the academic institutions of the United States that if you're going to accept government money, strings come attached with that money. And usually the strings come attached and are used for left-wing purposes, like the reason so many of these institutions have gotten very aggressive with DEI in the past number of years is the Biden administration insisted it. The Biden administration started this. The Biden administration set the precedent. And all Donald Trump is doing is playing off the precedent set by the Biden administration. If you don't like it, stop taking the money. You stop taking the money, and guess what? You don't have to worry about federal purse strings. Hillsdale College doesn't do the DEI demands. Hillsdale College doesn't even take student loan dollars, you should know. But if you go to Hillsdale College, every student has the ability to get a job on campus to help pay for their tuition. It's got a great jobs program. It's one of the things I was admiring about Samford University. My son wants to be in the architecture program there. Every student down to the freshmen have internships. They're very, very jobs focused. So many of these Ivy League institutions are not very jobs focused. They're entitlement focused. And they just expect the federal money to come in. You have no right to my federal taxpayer dollars when you're funding a bunch of anti-Semitic protesters, professors, and students on your college campus. It really is that easy. It really is that simple. Stop taking the money. And now Harvard says, I want to not change a single thing, but still get the money. And Trump said no. Good for Donald Trump on this. More of this, please. This isn't exactly what I voted for, but this is a certain add-on that I like. Now, let me tell you about my bank, Old Glory Bank. I did business with them yesterday, as a matter of fact, depositing some money at Old Glory Bank. They sure do make it seamless. Their online, their app for doing mobile checks and even cash through my local pharmacy. Yes, my local pharmacy, my CVS, no less, can take my cash and get it deposited into my Old Glory Bank account. They're that innovative. They got 88,000 retail locations where you can take cash to, scan a QR code in the app, and it goes into your account, and it just works. It's like magic. Old Glory Bank is like magic. They're by conservatives, for conservatives, designed for conservatives, designed to fight the debanking trends we've been hearing a lot about in this country. Mike Reed, the CEO, has been testifying before Congress about the debanking trends in this country and why Old Glory Bank started. They are a great bank, highly innovative. They've got great online bill pay. They've got great budgeting tools. I've used them all. They're a great bank. OldGloryBank.com is their website. You can go online there, fill out the form, get your kid. Your kid wants a checking account, needs a checking account that can handle depositing cash. Old Glory Bank. You can get no-fee checking and no-fee savings for your kid, for yourself, for your business. You can get a great checking account, great business account. They're very, 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 very hands-on with businesses. OldGloryBank.com. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
1251 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center remains active on 285 this Tuesday afternoon. Stall in the center lane, 285 northbound, the inner loop Paces Ferry Road, exit number 18. If you're traveling 285 south toward the airport on the west side, you got that construction in two right lanes before Highway 166 Langford Parkway. And the earlier crash, 285 westbound, the inner loop Riverdale Road, exit 60. That is cleared. Delays improving through the airport tunnels. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The U.S. is investing up to $1 billion to fight the spread of bird flu.
At the top and bottom of every hour.
Traffic congestion around Metro Atlanta continues to cost commuters.
And when it breaks.
The suspect is in critical condition after being struck multiple times.
Check back 3, 4, 5 times a day for the latest.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Hey, it's Scott Slade for FGA Roofing. If your home's exterior could use an updated look, or maybe one of your neighbor's designer roofs has caught your eye, and your current roof has started to show its age, then now's the perfect time to check out FGA Roofing for the latest in architectural shingles, timberland shingles, and more. Slate, tile, wood shake, cedar roofs, FGA has them all. FGA Roofing offers 0% financing for 12 months with your good credit. Get the roof you want now and pay over time. Click firstgaroof.com. That's firstgaroof.com.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group, to discuss one of the biggest blind spots that people face when saving for retirement, and it's a head scratcher. Chris, how do so many people not know what they're invested in?
That's the biggest flaw that everybody runs into. They think they know what equities they have, they think they know what bonds they have, but they really don't know how those mutual funds or how those index funds are performing in conjunction with one another. So, I would liken this to a big pot of soup, and we're just throwing all the ingredients in the refrigerator in this thing. It's not very good. It's just a mishmash of stuff. And sometimes you like the way it tastes. Sometimes you don't. And when you don't know why. You don't know if you got too much chicken in there or too much vegetables in there or what's going on. And I ask every caller that comes in for an initial consultation, do you know how your portfolio is broken down? And they say, well, I've got, 20 or so options in my 401k, and I just picked 2 of them or 3 of them. I thought I needed some international. I thought I needed some U.S. equities. I thought I needed some bonds. And they're just guessing. So you have to absolutely know what you're invested in, and that's where we will run the 401k portfolio x-ray for you, because that'll break it down. If you're not proficient at investing and don't understand this world, we will walk you through it. Not knowing what you're invested in is a big hindrance to growing and protecting your money. We will run a portfolio x-ray for you and educate you on exactly what's in your portfolio.
Set up a time to get your complimentary portfolio x-ray today. Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858. That's 404-737-3858, or book online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Hey homeowners, it's Eric Erickson. You wouldn't trust Mac with a jack to fix your home's sinking foundation problem, would you? I certainly wouldn't. Serious issues need serious experts at Engineered Solutions of Georgia. Their skills are unmatched, so are their foundation solutions. When these guys repair a problem, it's the last time you'll have to worry about it. Done once, done right. Start today with a free inspection. Go to ESOGrepair.com. That's ESOGrepair.com.
Dial 678 ESOG now.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Greetings, welcome. It is Eric Erickson. If you do text the word data or data, as the voice says, DATA to 33777, you can get the show notes. Even though I was gone yesterday, I prepared detailed show notes for you and sent them. Although you should know, the morning emails this week, completely free. Everybody can get them. You don't have to be a paid subscriber. Just text data to 33777. Put in your email address. You'll get the freebies that come out of the morning this week. There are times and there are days during this particular week where I really struggle because there's some big political news. But I actually don't write about politics this week in the morning because it's Holy Week. And it is a way to force myself to focus on bigger things. Before I get there, though, this hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're buying a building, if you're buying a franchise, if you need a heavy equipment loan, you need $75,000 or more for heavy equipment, or you need $250,000 or more for a franchise, for buying out a business partner, building a building, First Liberty might be able to help you where your lender might be unable to share your vision. Talk to First Liberty Building and Loan. The Frost family's been helping businesses grow for quite a while now. Still there at it. FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. FirstLibertyGA.com. All their info's there. So this is Holy Week, and I am an evangelical Christian. I haven't been in seminary for a couple of years now. I've been kind of on hiatus, but am ready to go back starting this year, later next semester, to take more classes and finish my degree. And on Holy Week, I try not to write about politics in my morning email, but to actually write about Holy Week. And the main reason is it's not really for you guys, it's for me, because I can get so obsessed with the headlines of the day and the ebbs and flows of the news cycle. And it's a good reminder to me that actually there's something far more important than whatever you think is important right now in politics or in news, and that's eternity. Eternity is far more important. And so on Friday of this week, my entire show will be about eternal topics, not temporary political topics. And it really is, it's more for me than for you. It's almost like a tithe on radio, but I feel very strongly that we get so focused on the temporal politics of the age, and it's all going to change. But what's not going to change is God. And he's way more important than who's in the White House or who's not, way more important than the tax fight, way more important than everything else. The kingdom and the eternal are so much more important. We should hit pause and focus on that. So that's what I'll do with this Friday. And if you follow along on my writings this week at no charge, just text data to 33777. You can get those writings in the mornings as we focus on Holy Week here and the big topics. Now, when we come back, I want to take some of your phone calls, but also I want to talk about the El Salvadoran illegal immigrant who is being held in El Salvador. And now the president of El Salvador says, sorry, I can't get this guy back to you. There's going to be a court fight. Let me just, without really putting my cards on the table, I'll give you what both sides are saying. Try to be as objective as I can on this one.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, That sounds like something to look into, and that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Hi there. Good afternoon. It is 1 o'clock. I'm Sabrina Cupid. Governor Kemp has signed a special tax refund bill today that puts money back in Georgia taxpayers' pockets. Single tax filers will receive $250. If you're head of the household and single, you'll get $350, and then joint tax filers $500. Taxpayers who filed returns for 2023 and 2024 would be eligible for this.
I'm proud to put this money back where it belongs and entrust hardworking Georgians with their own funds, especially as families deal with the high-cost environment that we have been in over the last several years.
Now, the governor's office saying the refunds would total $1 billion. The checks will be issued in 6 to 8 weeks for those who filed before May 1st. All right, your weather for today, partly cloudy, breezy, cooling down just a little bit for today. Afternoon highs right there around 70. The winds could be gusting up to 30 miles an hour, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. An investigation's underway after a woman is found shot to death at a DeKalb County motel this morning. Police say officers responded around 7:30 to that motel at 1700 Crescent Center Boulevard. They found a woman who'd been shot. They took her to the hospital. She was rushed there but died from her injuries. The victim has not yet been identified. Police asking anybody with information to give them a call. You can remain anonymous. The FDA is warning the public of counterfeit semaglutide, better known as Ozempic. The pharmaceutical company that makes the diabetes and weight loss drugs said that several hundred units of a fake drug had apparently made its way into the U.S. drug supply chain. Authorities are advising users, sellers, and providers to verify the lot and serial numbers before dispensing those drugs. Well, this is the day that Georgia's Vidalia onions start being shipped out to grocery stores. Georgia Agriculture Commissioner Tyler Harper says today is going to be a busy day for farmers.
Our Vidalia onion growers and farmers will be working to start putting them on trucks to get them to the grocery store shelves and restaurants.
He says they'll be shipping across the globe. In all, there are about 10,000 acres of Vidalia onions that are being packed up and shipped out this year. As we take a look at the markets, the Dow's currently down 14 at 40,511. NASDAQ is down slightly, and so is the S&P. It's 102.
For over 25 years, you've counted on All Four Seasons for garage and entry doors. But we also specialize in replacement windows with a lifetime warranty. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage and Entry Doors. Enhance your home's energy efficiency and curb appeal with a wide range of quality window options, backed by unparalleled service and craftsmanship. From garage doors to entry doors to windows, for every opening of your home, we've got you covered. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garages.com.
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Shelly Winter here. Join me this Saturday at noon for the Car Guys with Kevin Deutsch from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Buy or lease, fix or sell, everything you want to know about cars, we will cover Saturday noon to 1 right here on 95.5 WSB.
Hope. It's more than a word. It's a breakthrough in the making. At City of Hope, we're pushing the boundaries of science, targeting cancer at the molecular level, with teams of experts working together to personalize a treatment plan right down to your DNA with unprecedented speed, making every second count, with appointments in as little as 24 hours. City of Hope, advancing cancer care at life-saving speed. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects, now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
When it rains, you need to make sure your home is protected from the ground up. That means starting in your crawl space. Water in your crawl space can lead to problems in your house. Crawl space issues? Visit aquaguard.net today and book a free inspection. Remember,
AquaGuard.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center with a look at your roads.
Better news on 285 northbound, the inner loop heading up through Smyrna Vinings. That stall has been pushed off to the right at Paces Ferry Road, exit 18. The brake lights back at South Cobb Drive will start to improve. Still got construction heading toward the airport. 285 southbound, the outer loop before Highway 166, Langford Parkway. 2 right lanes are blocked there. And getting slow into Cobb County, 20 westbound in the work zone passing Panola Road, exit 71. We're going to check to see if anything new is blocking a lane out there in Lithonia. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A cold front passing through today, so a mix of sun and clouds, breezy and cooler through the afternoon. Highs in the upper 60s, low 70s. Wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. Lows tonight in the mid 40s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high 71. Sunny skies on Thursday, highs in the mid 70s.
It is partly cloudy in Fairburn, 67 degrees, 66 right now in Sugar Hill, and 66 degrees in Smyrna. This weekend looks pretty warm, highs in the 80s, and as we look ahead to Easter Sunday, I know you like to plan ahead for that, going to be lows in the 60s to start things off, and then in the upper 80s in the afternoon, according to WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. All right, we'll have more news at 1:30, breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, would love to have you with me. As always, if you text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, so much more. All the social media links available to you. We gotta talk about Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, the El Salvadoran man. By now you have heard the story of Kilmar Garcia. Here are the facts. Mr. Garcia came into the United States illegally. He was detained by the government. 2 separate immigration judges determined that he had credible ties to MS-13, the violent gang from Central America, and they ordered him deported. After being ordered deported, Mr. Garcia said, wait, amnesty. I need amnesty. It could go badly for me if I go home. And so his deportation was stayed pending consideration of his amnesty request. He's been here so long, he got married to an American citizen and has a child, the child of which is an American citizen. When Donald Trump came into office, they rounded up Mr. Garcia. A federal judge told the Trump administration they were not allowed to deport Mr. Garcia pending the resolution of his amnesty case, and they put him on a plane and sent him to El Salvador. They did not notify the flight of the order enjoining the deportation until it was too late. The plane was already over Mexico. And they went to court and said, oops, our bad. It was an administrative error. The case was appealed to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court cannot order the President of the United States to go get someone and bring them to the United States because the Supreme Court doesn't have that power. That's an executive power. What they did is they told the lower court to instruct the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Mr. Garcia. Why? Because, again, there's a court order not to allow him to be deported until the resolution of his case. Now, here is the objective fact. If Mr. Garcia is returned to the United States, he will be deported again because the Trump administration has pulled back the asylum claims that would allow someone like Mr. Garcia to stay in the country. So you bring him back from El Salvador, he's going to be deported. To where? El Salvador. He's already there. The Trump administration cannot be made by a court to bring someone out of a foreign land who is not a U.S. citizen back to this country. You simply cannot make a president bring someone into the United States who is not an American citizen. The rules are different between an American citizen and a non-citizen. And even with a citizen, a court would struggle to force a president to use executive power to comply with a judicial order. Those are the facts. You can dispute the facts, but you would be wrong. Those are the facts. What people on the right say is that he's going to be deported anyway, so leave him there. What people on the left say is that you've got to honor the court's order and bring him back to have due process. And two, if he's going to be deported, he would not be deported to a prison facility. He'd be just deported to his homeland. And so what's happening to Mr. Garcia is cruel and unusual, a violation of the Ninth Amendment. The Ninth Amendment applies not just to American citizens, but to others who are here by putting him in a facility in El Salvador that he does not belong in because he has not been accused of a crime other than illegal immigration. And he has not been found guilty of a crime. He should not be in a facility. At worst, he should be in El Salvador, but not in the facility. And that this is a constitutional crisis, and the president is defying the law. President Bukele was at the White House yesterday. This is the
Can
interaction.
President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed to have suggested that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you could release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
Now, that's Bukele saying we can't, and he views the guy as a terrorist, as someone, do not forget now, he was credibly found to be tied to MS-13. Now, his current defense lawyers say, don't believe all that, but a federal immigration judge found there was credible evidence to tie him to that. And now what people will say on the left is, well, actually, the guys who said that recanted later. At the time, they said as much, and the judge found the body of evidence compelled him to say the guy was credibly tied to MS-13. This is Jeffrey Tuggin-Tubin on CNN.
A few days ago that he wasn't. Can I just ask you, both seem to agree the Supreme Court may have been more deliberate in its language than a lot of people are, analyzing here. What do you think the Supreme Court thinks about all this? What do you think the Chief Justice thinks when he sees this man not being returned?
I think they're very, very cautious, and they don't want a confrontation with the president. That's why the language is so cautious. But I think they want him returned.
Well, but I also think they do not want an international confrontation that they cause, and they will be very deferential if El Salvador says we are simply not turning him over. I bet this Supreme Court will say, well, there's nothing that can be done in that case. You don't think this man is coming back? I don't think he's coming back, basically,
I'm still
ever.
hopeful.
The lady is still hopeful. Tubin says he's not coming back. Listen, he's from El Salvador. He's a citizen of El Salvador. He's an illegal immigrant in this country. The right the Trump supporters say, I will tell you there are some vocal Trump supporters who say this is not good. You're setting a precedent that the Democrats will use. Now, I have a hard time believing Democrats will deport anybody, but you should understand there is there is real concern even among some Trump supporters that this is a line that should not be crossed because it will be used eventually by the Democrats in a way we can't foresee. There is a concern about respecting due process of law. There is a concern about telling courts we can't do anything. You put people in limbo. And, and the left is amping up this fear about they could deport Americans. They could deport Americans. Here is one of CNN's legal analysts on this issue.
I mean, I think it's worth reminding folks, one of the complaints that we had in the Declaration of Independence at the beginning of the American Revolution was that King George was sending criminals to faraway prisons. It's almost like history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. There's no legal authority to send a U.S. citizen to serve a U.S. criminal sentence in a foreign prison. And, Kate, it would be pretty striking if there was, because that would mean any of us could be effectively disappeared into a prison with no U.S. legal constraints, with no potential human rights limits, no matter what. And that's a pretty scary proposition just arising out of this one immigration case.
But see, I don't think it arises. I think the Trump administration is toying with the media on this. I'm trying to play it straight with you. And just give you here's what the Trump supporters think, here's what the Trump supporters don't think. I will give you my plain opinion here. I think it is a dangerous game for the Trump administration to deport someone claiming it's an administrative error and ostensibly make no effort to bring him back. I do think it's a dangerous game. Concurrent to that, I have a hard time being sympathetic to a man that was found to have credible ties to MS-13, who's not an American citizen, who could have left as Trump was coming in, chose not to, and found himself in this situation. No, I do not think he should be in a detention facility in El Salvador. I don't think he should be, just given the facts on the ground. He was not found guilty of any crime. Yes, he came into the country illegally, but we tend not to round up people and put them in detention facilities for God knows how long in that situation. But he's going to be deported again, so let him stay. Release him from the detention facility, but he's not coming back to the United States. The courts are having a hard time here because they don't have the power really to do anything. But here's where I think this heads. Whether you think this is an assault on the Constitution, an abridgment of freedoms, or what, here's where I think this is going to go. This ties into this angle that the left is now seeing that if he can do this to an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, sending him back to El Salvador, he can do this to an American citizen. I think that's kind of preposterous. And here's what I think is going to happen. I think federal judges are going to permanently bar the deportation of illegal aliens to detention facilities abroad. Given that once this happened and there was an administrative error and now Trump says, we can't bring the guy home, I think there's going to be a permanent injunction. I also think that if the Trump administration were to attempt to move Americans abroad into detention facilities abroad, I think the courts would say, no, you can't do that. Now, here's where some of you will say, well, what if they do it anyway? What if they do it anyway? Y'all all know about qualified immunity, and qualified immunity is that administrative law enforcement actors have immunity from the actions they take and official conduct, and they cannot be personally liable for behavior unless the behavior they're doing is a behavior that the courts have previously said you can't do. So one of the quirks of qualified immunity is when a novel case comes before the court and they say, oh, this fact pattern has never happened before, you can't sue this officer individually because we've never encountered this before, but from here on out, if this happens again, they can be personally liable. You issue an injunction immediately and say no American can be deported or no illegal alien can be deported to a foreign country without first court review. From here on out, any federal official who participates, down to the local law enforcement officer who does it, they can be civilly liable. That's not something the president can pardon. They're not criminally liable. They're civilly liable. So what you will see are a massive pile of lawsuits against law enforcement officers personally, not just officially, not just professionally, but in their personal capacity as someone who's doing something that the court has said you can't do. Do you really think there are donors with deep enough pockets around the country to cover all of those lawsuits? This will effectively stymie what the Trump administration wants to do. And that ultimately is why I think Kilmer Garcia needs to be brought back to this country. Because I think ultimately what happens here is the Trump administration undermines themselves. Now, a buddy of mine says, no, what's going to happen is Trump's going to enter into a treaty with these countries. But a treaty requires 2/3 of Senate approval. You're not going to get 2/3 Senate approval. And an executive agreement doesn't get you that far because an executive agreement isn't approved by Congress. It's just one branch of government. So I think what you're going to see if he doesn't bring Garcia back is a move by courts to permanently enjoin deportations. Oh, wait, that's happened today. A federal judge in Boston has ruled that the Trump administration cannot revoke the legal status of over 500,000 migrants who flew into the U.S. under President Biden's mass parole program. The Biden administration created the program. This is from Bill Malugin, he says, out of thin air using his executive parole authority. It was temporarily halted due to fraud in the program, and a judge is now blocking Trump from using his own authority to cancel the humanitarian parole grants that Joe Biden created with his authority. Now, this prevents the deportation of people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. The judge is an Obama appointee and is premised on legal error and lacking individualized assessment. And guess what? The fact that the Trump administration made an administrative error, in its own words, moving Mr. Garcia to El Salvador, weighed on the judge's mind, preventing the rollback of this program. This is what happens. We're in a tit-for-tat between the judiciary and the presidency, and the civil penalties of qualified immunity are going to start kicking in to discourage any law enforcement officer from complying with deportation orders. That's where this heads, unless the president's team does make efforts to bring Garcia back and then deport him right back to El Salvador. It's all smoke and mirrors and fighting courts, but there are real legal consequences here, which is why I think the administration at least needs to go through the theater of humoring the judge and then send Mr. Garcia back to El Salvador, just not to the detention facility.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
121 Coolray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still watching the work zone, 285 southbound, the outer loop before Highway 166, Langford Parkway, exit 5. 2 right lanes are blocked there. Traveling downtown, we're seeing the brake lights fill in for the afternoon, 85 southbound, just below Georgia 400. You're going to stay on and off those brakes as you make your way through Midtown and downtown. And traffic lights got fixed in Gwinnett County on on Holcomb Bridge Road at Spalding Drive. Traffic brought to you by Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag. The Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is the best deal in fast food for a lot of reasons, some of which include a JBC, 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink. For the best deal of all time, gotta be Wendy's. Price and participation may vary. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The news of the day through the eyes of Eric Von Hessler.
I've listened to many arguments, and there are good arguments to say that we shouldn't. I'm just saying.
If it's on your mind, it's on his.
This is the only way to do it. Some people are going to lose their job, and then they're going to be put back in the job.
Eric Von Hessler, today at 3.
It's about you. You're being celebrated.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Big Box Paint hates Rhino Shield. Why?
Because traditional paint chips, flakes, and peels, leaving homeowners just like you caught in an endless cycle of repainting your home.
They hate that Rhino Shield can protect and coat your home for decades. They hate that Rhino Shield insulates and makes your home more energy efficient. And they really hate that Rhino Shield is backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
Say goodbye to paint and say hello to durability that lasts.
Veteran owned, made right here in the USA. Go to rhinoshieldga.com for your free evaluation.
It's Erick Erickson here. Every single day now, I deal with a malicious request to click a link. My daughter the other day got a text message, some of you have probably gotten. Click on it and pay your toll, and it's just a scam. All these things keep happening. They're preying upon the young, senior citizens, and you and me. But there's good news. Vision Computer is here to help you. If you have their managed service, you're never alone, and in just 15 seconds, expert tech support is at your fingertips, ready to protect you from online threats, scams, and computer problems. And you don't have to take my word for it. We're a Vision Computer household, but they've got thousands of 5-star reviews beyond my household reviews, but I'd give them 5 stars too. They've got thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews because they're simply the best. Call them at 404-COMPUTE today or visit them online at visioncomputers.com, because when it comes to your security, you can't afford to wait. Vision will take care of you. Tell them I sent you. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
Some things get better with age, but not your home siding and windows. If your house is showing its age and needs a facelift, it's only going to get worse. New siding and windows are the perfect fix. Dave Baker here for my siding and window experts, Nelson Exteriors. With Nelson Exteriors, you choose the window that's right for your home and budget from many top-rated manufacturers like Anderson and MI. And Nelson is a licensed and insured James Hardie Elite Preferred Siding Contractor. For unmatched quality and craftsmanship, Google Nelson Exteriors.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard joining MediShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MediShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Join Eric's army of activists and let your voice be heard. Text ARMY to 33777.
Hello, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Be patient with me. When we come back, I'm going to take your phone calls. I can't get your phone calls in these short segments, and I should tell you why. It is because my son's math class has decided to see if they can outsmart my call screener and ambush me on live radio. And, well, I don't want to take short segment phone calls now as they attempt to do this, just in case. Just to be on the safe side as these devious 10th graders try to outsmart my call screener. We'll see if they're successful or not. But that also gives me a chance. I would like to defend Wiley Ballard. Now, I don't know Wiley Ballard, don't know him at all, but he is a sideline reporter for the Braves, and he's getting all sorts of angry people with they-them pronouns attacking him online because Wiley Ballard was interviewing a lady at a Braves game on Monday night, and his other broadcasters were needling him to get the lady's phone number, and sure enough, she gives him the phone number, and all the progressives in America, the feminists of America, that's not funny. How dare he? That's abusive. Really? Really? It was a funny, lighthearted moment. The power dynamic of the man with the microphone. Oh, good Lord. Now, here's the other thing. I got to tell you, this clip is in show notes, and if you look at the people who are complaining, 99.9999% of the individuals complaining about Wiley Ballard would never have a dude ask them for their cell phone number. The girl took it in great humor. Wiley Ballard took it in great humor. Braves, he did nothing wrong. Everybody leave Wiley Ballard alone. If I ever see him, I'll buy him a beer. Just ridiculous. Now, let me tell you about Americans for Prosperity, because they are an awesome group, the largest and leading grassroots group in the United States of America. They happen to be conservatives, and they have to be committed to advancing small government and common sense conservative reforms around the country. They are working to help the Republicans in Washington come to consensus on the president's tax plan. They love to cut taxes. They would love to have you involved with them. Go to AmericansForProsperity.org today. Sign up with AFP. They'll teach you how to be an effective grassroots activist. They'll teach you how to be the most informed person in your circle of friends. Americans for Prosperity is a great group of people, fantastic group of people. I'm on their advisory board. They would love to have you as an informed conservative activist fighting for common sense reform. AmericansForProsperity.org is the website. AmericansForProsperity.org. Sign up with AFP today. Be a part of the fight for freedom.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. Governor Kemp has now signed a couple of bills into law today that gives Georgians extra cash. Before signing the bill, the governor said this.
I'm also looking forward to seeing the impact of the two bills that I will sign today, putting money back where it belongs, in the pockets of you all, hardworking Georgians.
Now, one of the bills gives Georgians extra tax refunds ranging from $250 to $500.
This is the third special one-time refund like this that we have enacted.
Now, the other creates the largest income tax cut in Georgia history, dropping it 0.2% to 5.19%. Your weather for today, partly cloudy, cooler and breezy. Afternoon highs around 70. Some of the winds could be gusting up to 30 miles an hour, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. This is new this afternoon. There's a cold medicine recall. Safe Tussin is recalling some of its products because of faulty packaging. It could pose a risk to children. The recalled products were sold nationwide at grocery stores and pharmacies. They are labeled multi-symptom cough, cold, and flu, and safe for adults with high blood pressure, diabetes medications. The recalled products were sold in a blue, orange, and red cardboard box. Consumers are urged to take them back for a refund. A big win for credit card companies today. As part of former President Biden's crackdown on junk fees, the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has capped credit card late fees at $8. But now a federal judge appointed by President Trump has ruled that policy was illegal. Credit card companies and their stock likely to benefit from this because fee income is a big business for them. Late fees accounting for billions of dollars in recurring revenue for those companies. Let's take a look at the markets right now. The Dow is currently down 49 at 40,475. NASDAQ is also down slightly, and so is the S&P. It's 1:32.
How can your termite company claim your home is termite-free? By only walking around outside. Christina Edwards here for Breda Pest Management. Termites are the most destructive pest of all. They literally eat your house. Only Breda will come inside and thoroughly inspect your entire home with infrared cameras. Breda guarantees your termite protection and will lock in your rate for 10 years. BREDAPest.com.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Light and bright interior spaces are a top trend in home design.
It's Ted and Jonathan from North Georgia Replacement Windows. You can paint all the white you want, but it won't brighten your home more than natural light. Let the light in.
Brighten your home with more daylight and bigger views with Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows.
Your detailed window installation will be quick, clean, and hassle-free.
Window and door shopping made simple.
Infinity from Marvin, replacement windows, yeah!
Hey, it's Shelley Winter here for my good friends at PalmettoSleep.com. Let's talk about a serious business, sleep apnea. I suffer from it, and whether you've been diagnosed with it or afraid you have it, I have the solution. Palmetto Sleep is here to give you your life back. They make it easy to get help for sleep apnea because living without a good night's sleep is simply no way to live. Palmetto Sleep offers a custom-fitted oral appliance that opens your airway so you naturally breathe the way nature intended. The best part is they offer virtual consultations and in-home sleep testing. No overnight stays at a sleep center. Plus, Palmetto Sleep has all the doctors that you will need. Most appointments are virtual, and it's all covered by your private medical insurance. Don't suffer from another sleepless night or daytime fatigue like I do. Visit PalmettoSleep.com now. Visit PalmettoSleep.com. That's PalmettoSleep.com.
Septic systems are not a do-it-yourself project. You need an expert. Hi, I'm Shannon, owner of Scorpion Septic. We're Dave Baker's septic experts on the Home Fix-It Show. My licensed and insured team specialize in solving your septic problems on the spot.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic, where there is never a pump-out charge with your repair. Details online.
ScorpionSepticServices.com.
All right, Alex Williams, how are we looking on the roads?
Still watching the brake lights heading to the airport on the west side with that double right lane construction. 285 southbound, the outer loop before Langford Parkway, Highway 166. Downtown, some delays heading southbound through Midtown toward North Avenue. Northbound, little sluggish, University Avenue up to Freedom Parkway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A cold front passing through today, so a mix of sun and clouds, breezy and cooler through the afternoon. Highs in the upper 60s, low 70s. Wind gusts as high as 30 miles per hour. Lows tonight in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high 71. Sunny skies on Thursday, highs in the mid-70s.
More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings, conversationalists. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I should tell my call screener down the line that I would expect that within the next hour, the attempted ambush will happen, because that's math class, I think, starts up here momentarily. So for those of you just tuning in, the 10th grade boys in my son's class have decided they want to try to get on the radio today. Now, they might actually have a reasonable call. I think the call screener should determine if they have a reasonable point, see if they can get on the radio or not. But we're going to run everything in delay just to be on the safe side. We will see if they can make it on. They might have a credible point, and they might use their teacher to do it. He's very interested in talking about tariffs, apparently. So we'll see. He's got a cool math teacher from Louisiana, so we'll see what they do. Now, the phone number again, 877-973-7425. I'm going to go first to Carl from Jupiter, Florida. Carl, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks so much. I want to start by, when I can listen to your program, I enjoy it, because I think, like me, you're sort of a Trumpy, but you at least listen or discern what he's talking about. And I want to talk a little bit. I caught the last part of your comment on birthright. My background is I didn't get a law degree until I was 70, but I'm a big advocate of the Federal Society in Hillsdale, so I pay a lot of attention. And the only thing at the end that I would, first of all, I told your screener, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think it's 60-40 that he might win, and here's the rationale. Any of the Supreme Court justices that are true originalists have to understand that the 14th Amendment had a very limited application, and that was the children of slaves. But you mentioned the one case, the U.S. versus Juan Kim Ark. I think it's important, and you may remember when you went to law school, that it's very important to see what the question is and see what the answer is. And here's the reason why I think justices can go either way. If you read that opinion and you read the question presented, it is whether a child born in the United States of Chinese descent, but here's the key part, and the people are permanent residents, domiciles, and work in the United States. And at the very end, when they give the holding, they say the single question stated at the beginning. So it seems to me, if you want to vote that that is not precedent setting, it would be because it was limited very specifically both at the question and in the holding to people that were domiciled, resided, and worked in it. So I'd say if I had to bet, it's a 60-40 chance that birthright would be overturned. It's not a certain thing, but if you wanted to vote to overturn it, you could vote with the 14th Amendment being originalist, only as to slave, and with U.S. versus Juan Kimart being very, very narrow. And
so Carl, let's back up here too for those just jumping in here. So for Juan Kimart, it was 1897, and the case was a guy. He was born in this country to people who weren't American citizens. They were allowed into the country legally. They worked here. They returned back to China. He went back once to China and then returned to the country. And the second time he went back to China, an anti-Chinese Immigration Act was passed. And when he tried to get back into the country the second time, the customs inspector in San Francisco said you're not allowed in because of this anti-Chinese law. And the Supreme Court said actually his parents were here legally. They were bound to the laws of the United States. Therefore, he was. And so people who say we've overinterpreted birthright citizenship say essentially arguing that the case only applied in the circumstance to people whose parents were legal residents, and unlike them, the 14th Amendment, the actual language of the 14th Amendment says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens, and therefore an illegal immigrant coming into this country isn't subject to the jurisdiction thereof, therefore doesn't apply to illegal aliens. We have been interpreting this overbroad for too long. That's the argument on the side of those who say illegal immigration doesn't actually apply, birthright citizenship doesn't apply to children of illegal immigrants. I think I've captured that accurately for you.
With only one thing, I didn't see anywhere where it said they had returned to China. In the question it said they were residents, domiciled residents, and working in the United States. So I believe I didn't see anywhere that they had actually returned.
Yeah. So it may not, and I apologize if it's not in there, but historically, actually, the fact is the parents had gone back to China, and so they had worked here legally when he was born. The parents had gone back to China, so his second trip to China was actually to see his parents. That's one of the historic footnotes of the case. His parents ultimately wound up moving back to China, and so he was coming back the second time. Back to the United States from having visited his parents who had gone back to China, and that was one of the big impediments for the customs officer was he was going to China to see his parents who had repatriated, and the Supreme Court said it doesn't matter. His parents were here legally as resident aliens of the United States, and I think they were actually permanent resident aliens at this point, even though they'd gone back to China. They might have been back there visiting, actually. I'm not sure. But I do, historically, his parents had been in China, and he had gone to see them and was coming back. And the court said, it doesn't matter. When he was born here, his parents were subject to the laws of the United States. They had permission to be in the country. They were legal residents in the country, even if they weren't citizens. So he was too. So now let's do the corollary here, Carl. And I'll let you go there, but I just so everybody understands the argument here that all persons born or naturalized in the United States, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States. You should also know one extra point here that comes to the argument of those who say the 14th Amendment doesn't apply to illegal aliens, and that is the author of the 14th Amendment, the senator who drafted the 14th Amendment, in arguments in the congressional record, makes very clear the 14th Amendment in his mind would not apply to someone who comes into this country illegally and gives birth. That's actually in the congressional record. The author of the 14th Amendment says that. That is the argument. Now, here's the flip side, and this is the prevailing view. And again, minority views sometimes win. Look at the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the overturning of Chevron. Minority views in a conservative court sometimes win. Here's the other view. This is the view that actually illegal aliens, when their children are born in this country, applies. And again, don't shoot the messenger, just giving you the argument. The language, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the states wherein they reside. The Supreme Court in Wong Kim Ark makes clear Foreign citizens who are acting as agents of their government in this country, that means diplomats and members of the military, if their children are born in this country, they are not citizens of the country because they are actually not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Members of the military who are here on assignment or invading, they go home. They're bound to their king. What the Supreme Court, though, has held over time, and what the scholarly body of research says, is despite what the author of the amendment said in Congress in the 1800s, the language, all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, follows English and European common and civil law at the time, where it was the prevailing practice in France, in Germany, in Great Britain, and in the British colonies, that if you were born into the colonies, you were a citizen. It didn't matter how you got there unless you were a diplomat or member of the military. If you just happened to be crossing in transit and your child was born in a British colony or in France, they were a citizen of that country. If they were stowaways and they happened to be born and happened to give birth, that person was a citizen as well. So the pattern in the 1800s in the British colonies, in France and in Germany at the time, it was the prevailing laws in Europe, was that if someone was transiting through your country pregnant and gave birth, their child became a citizen of that country. That was the civil law of France. It was the common law of Great Britain at the time and across the British Empire. So what the argument is on the other side, the essentially the defense of illegal alien birthright citizenship, is that the 14th Amendment has to be looked at as a whole with common law from England, from Europe, what was the default practice on planet Earth at the time, and in Western countries at the time, this language, all persons born and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens, applied to children born of parents who were passing through a country with or without permission. And because it was happening in the 1800s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's why it applies. So there are your two arguments. My personal view, the Eric Erickson view of which you are not bound, is that I have a hard time thinking that the Supreme Court, after over 100 years of accepting this as the default, that illegal immigrants who give birth in this country, their children are citizens. I don't think the Supreme Court's going to reverse that. I think you may get Thomas to agree to it, Alito to agree to it. Maybe you'll get Kavanaugh or Gorsuch to agree to it. You're clearly not going to get the three libs, but I'm not sure you're going to get Amy Coney Barrett, John Roberts, or Neil Gorsuch to agree with you. Kavanaugh's not a wild card to me. Kavanaugh's probably on the side. Gorsuch is the wild card to me. I don't think you're going to get them to do this because the originalists' interpretation, while it will look to what was said by the author, is going to look to the laws at the time and the phrase of the laws at the time. And in Europe, the prevailing consensus, and by the way, we know from the congressional record, the authors of the 14th Amendment and the committee process tried to conform the language to the prevailing language and the rule of law at the time prevailing in the Western world. And in the Western world at the time, in Europe in particular, is what we're talking about. The phrase, all persons born and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the country. That phrase meant those who were transiting a country with or without permission who gave birth, their children became citizens. Now, there's a side note here. We refer to those children as anchor babies. But here's the caveat. In the 1800s, even though that was the prevailing sentiment, there were no anchor babies. You may pass through a country and give birth and your child becomes a citizen of the British Empire, but you do not. And because you don't have permission to stay, your child does not have permission to stay. And your child will go home with you to your natural country, maintaining dual citizenship. And when your child is of age, they can come. And I suspect that may be where the Supreme Court lands, that, these kids are American citizens, but they are wards not of the state but of their parent, and they have to go with their parent. That may be their split decision compromise. But if you put a gun to my head and said, you pick what's the Supreme Court going to do, I actually am 60-40. The Supreme Court maintains the status quo. I don't think the Supreme Court's going to invalidate 100 years worth of births. And I don't think they're going to be the clever by half of, we've gotten this wrong for 100 years, and so we're going to honor our mistake, but now we're going to change it. I don't think they'll do that either. I think that's the way that this winds up. Now, I realize, here's the thing. The people who take the opposite approach, that it doesn't apply to illegal aliens, They are the most rabid, and Carl, I don't mean this disrespectfully to you, but they are the most rabid defenders of their position, and they will scream and holler loudly. We've had people call into the program and say that I'm wrong. All I'm telling you is this is my opinion. It is the prevailing legal wisdom. It can be wrong. It could go the other way. But when I look at the shape of the Supreme Court and its opinions, you can say they get it wrong, but don't be surprised if they preserve the status quo. You may disagree with them. I disagreed with Roe v. Wade and fought a very long time to change Roe v. Wade, and ultimately was changed. I think if you get a Supreme Court that prevails on the status quo, that the children of illegal immigrants born here are citizens, you're never going to get the Supreme Court to change its mind on that. They're not going to take away that which was once given as a right, and that would be citizenship. Now, feel free to disagree. The Supreme Court will ultimately decide this case, and they should, by the way. But the people who, by the way, say that Wong Kim Ark was not about a legal alien, but about someone born of legal residents of this country, absolutely right. That characterization is fair and honest. Now, let me tell you about the Eden Pure thunderstorm, because it has saved me repeatedly, including the other day in a hotel in Florida that was highly fragrant. It wasn't a bad smell. It was just kind of overwhelming. It drove my sinuses crazy. The Eden Pure thunderstorm is an air purifier, so it gets rid of pollen and dust, pet dander, stuff like that. It uses electrostatic plates, so you don't have to get a filter subscription. You don't have to keep putting in HEPA filters that get expensive over time. Just uses electrostatic plates. You can clean it out. But it also generates plasma, and so as the air is pulled through it, it eliminates 99.9% of bacteria and viruses that encounter the plasma, and then it also generates ozone. And the ozone, it's O3, so it's an unstable oxygen molecule. O2 is very stable. That's what we breathe. O3 is ozone. And the oxygen molecule, the ozone molecule, wants to badly get rid of that third oxygen atom. And so what it does is when it encounters an ionized particle that is an odor, odors are called ionized particles, that third oxygen atom hits the particle, the ionized particle, and it takes them out and neutralizes the odor. And you can't smell a thing, and it works. It wipes out pet odors. It wipes out perfume odors. It wipes out litter box odors. It wipes out smoke odors. It wipes out frying in the kitchen odors. Wipes out all odors. You can get 3 of them and save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3, and you can get 3 Eden Pure thunderstorms. You can clean the air in your house. Get one for upstairs, downstairs, your basement. Plug it into the wall. Use a USB cord. Connect it to a computer in your car. It just works. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code ERIC3.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
151 Cool Day Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Construction wrapping up from the right lane into Cab 20 East between Wesley Chapel and Panola Road. Tap of the brakes there. Still got the construction in 2 right lanes, 285 southbound, the outer loop over on the west side approaching Highway 166 Langford Parkway. And we're seeing some brake lights downtown, 7585 northbound from University Avenue up to Peachtree, Pine Street. Traffic brought to you by Whole Foods Market. Shop your favorite brands at Whole Foods Market. Get 30% off select Annie's products with Prime through April 22nd while supplies last. Shop in store or online. Terms apply. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Get the WSB radio app.
This story is breaking right now.
Get notifications from your source for news.
If you have the WSB radio app, then you saw the breaking news.
Get the WSB radio app.
Don't miss a thing with the WSB app.
Download it from the App Store today.
Multiple contractors and estimates for your home projects? What a hassle. Instead, trust the Plus. Painting Plus.
Hi, I'm Charlie, owner of Painting Plus and the Plus family of businesses. We're reliable, fully licensed, and insured. No muss, no fuss. Trust the Plus and leave everything on your list to us.
If your home's exterior has it, the Plus can improve it. Painting Plus. Siding, gutters, windows, decks, porches, roofing, and more. Trust the Plus. PaintingPlus.com.
It's Diamond Month at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, and that means this month, buying diamonds comes with even more diamonds. All through the month of April, when you spend $9.95 or more, you'll receive a pair of gorgeous hand-matched diamond studs absolutely free. Shopping for your wife? Tuck those studs away for your anniversary. Upgrading your ring? Surprise your daughter with her first pair of diamonds. No matter how you spin it, there's no better deal in jewelry than Diamond Month at D. Geller & Son Jewelers. All April long in Kennesaw, Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
Hi, this is Candace from X Ovations, and have I I got a tip for you. But today, instead of giving you a home remodeling tip, my tip is don't just take my word for it. For over 20 years, you've heard me on the radio sharing remodeling advice. But if you really want to know what sets Exovations apart, go read our reviews. At exovations.com, you'll find hundreds of real stories from real homeowners who have trusted us with their exterior remodeling projects. From decks, siding, windows, doors, paint, roofing, porticos, and so much more. You'll see words like amazing work, incredible experience from start to finish, and again, stress-free. That's not just what we say, it's what our customers say. So yes, I'm Candace from Exovations, but don't just listen to me. Listen to our reviews. At Exovations, we do projects on time, on budget, and without all that stress. Google Exovations or visit EXOVATIONS.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
When it comes to defending down bikers' rights, trust is everything and results matter. Hey, it's Eric Von Hessler for Steel Horse Law, local motorcycle injury attorneys who ride. They specialize in protecting bikers who've been hurt. The mega firms will send an investigator or a paralegal, not a lawyer. With Steel Horse Law, you'll meet directly with your own attorney to get you back on your feet, medical bills paid, back to work, and your case resolved. Schedule your free accident evaluation at steelhorselaw.com.
You might think a window is just a window until you have to replace yours.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. But nope, all windows are not the same.
It's Jonathan and Ted from North Georgia Replacement Windows.
Upgrade now to beautiful Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows to improve energy efficiency, comfort, and curb appeal.
Experience the Infinity fiberglass difference at your home or in our new Alpharetta showroom. Don't buy just any window.
Invest in your home.
Infinity from Marvin, replacement windows, yeah!
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Giving you the truth, not the talking points. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Hello there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, if you're on the phones, be patient with me. I will get to you when we get out of the next commercial break, but stick around and be patient with me, please. Right now, I've got to tell you, the president is escalating the fight with Harvard, announcing he may attempt to reject Harvard's tax-exempt status, claiming it should be taxed as a political entity, in large part because of the anti-Semitism running rampant on the campus there that the president thinks has not been stamped out. Don't say it can't happen. Bob Jones had its tax-exempt status wiped out, although that was for refusal to desegregate. Back in 1983, the Supreme Court ruled compelling governmental interest to stamp out racial segregation, and Bob Jones lost its tax-exempt status. I'm not sure that Harvard will wind up the same way before the Supreme Court, but we would see in a fight. Trump says he wants to fight it. You should also know that yesterday, I wasn't here, but it was the 160th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Now, I have to read to you the report from the Associated Press. This is the actual Wire report from the Associated Press 160 years ago. President Lincoln and his wife visited Ford's Theater this evening for the purpose of witnessing the performance of The American Cousin. It was announced in the papers that General Grant would also be present, but that gentleman took the late train of cars for New Jersey. The theater was densely crowded, and everyone seemed delighted with the scene before them. During the third act, and while there was a temporary pause for one of the actors to enter, a sharp report of a pistol was heard, which merely attracted attention, but suggested nothing serious until a man rushed to the front of the president's box, waving a long dagger in his right hand, exclaiming, "Sic semper tyrannis," and immediately leaped from the box, which was in the second tier, to the stage beneath, and ran across to the opposite side, made his escape amidst the bewilderment of the audience in the rear of the theater, and mounted a horse and fled. You would have thought that the Associated Press 160 years ago would have led with, President Lincoln was assassinated tonight. No. It gets to the fourth paragraph. The fourth paragraph before they get to the fact that the president was shot. That's how the Associated Press reported it 160 years. Maybe we shouldn't laugh, but good Lord, talk about burying the lead. When we come back, I will take your phone calls, and also we got to talk, about tariffs, I'm afraid.
This is Scott Slade. Let's talk about how to improve your chances of living a longer, healthier life. For me, it's preventive medicine. My doctor saw one funky number in my lab work that eventually led to a diagnosis early enough so I still had options. You just got to have a medical professional looking at you every so often, especially when we're talking about heart disease, the nation's #1 killer. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. They've got the best CT imaging in the Southeast with 98% accuracy and low radiation, like flying in an airplane. They can detect calcium levels in your arteries and most cancers at the earliest stage. And virtual imaging can scan your brain to see if you're in danger of a tumor, stroke, or even dementia. So don't put this off, especially with this offer from virtual imaging. For a limited time, they're offering you and your spouse a free heart scan. Yes, free with a few minimum requirements. I've done it. Call 404-678-SCAN. That's 404-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. It is a WSB Money Update. Governor Kemp signing 2 bills into law today that could have a direct impact on your money.
I'm also looking forward to seeing the impact of the 2 bills that I will sign today, putting money back where it belongs, in the pockets of you all, hardworking Georgians.
The first returns money from the state's surplus directly to taxpayers in the form of an extra refund. You should see the money in 6 to 8 weeks. The second bill creates the largest income tax cut in Georgia history. And it is tax day for most of the country, but here in Georgia, we have until May 1st to file due to Hurricane Helene. 70 degrees in Atlanta. How long before the wind dies down? Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. A state representative from Cobb County no longer faces DUI charges after hitting a cyclist in a bike lane in Atlanta last August.
Representative Devin Seabaugh was arrested after crashing into that cyclist at Memorial Drive and Park Avenue. Now he's entered guilty pleas for failing to yield to a bicyclist and driving too fast for conditions. The 5 DUI charges he faced have all been dropped. He must pay just over $2,800 in fines and complete 40 hours of community service.
WSB's Austin Eller reports Seabaugh's attorney is not yet commenting. A man who attacked and robbed an elderly military veteran in DeKalb County pleads guilty and is sentenced to 20 years. 62-year-old Samuel Harvey attacked the man in a pharmacy parking lot on Candler Road in July of 2022. 93-year-old Arthur Johnson died 4 months after the attack. Harvey pleads guilty to abuse of an elder person, robbery, and obstruction of law enforcement officers. There's a cold medicine recall due to faulty packaging.
The packaging of the Safetussin multi-symptom cough, cold, and flu is not child-resistant because a tablet can be pushed through the foil. That poses a risk of poisoning for children if those pills are swallowed. So far, there have been no reports of this happening. Parents are being urged to check and see if they have the recalled over-the-counter medication. If so, take it back for a refund.
WSB Health reporter Sabrina Cupid says the cold medicine was sold nationwide at pharmacies and some grocery stores. We have more information posted at WSBradio.com. Clean, old-fashioned hate takes to the baseball field tonight, but for a good cause. Georgia and Georgia Tech meet in the 22nd Annual Spring Classic at Truist Park. The proceeds benefit the Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorders Center of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. First pitch set for 7 o'clock. It is now 2:02. The news is sponsored by FGA Roofing. Up next, live team coverage of traffic and weather.
Believe me, warmer weather is coming, and now is the time to upgrade your deck or add to your outdoor living space. Dave Baker here. My friends at Ben Hill Renovations are experts at creating decks of all shapes and sizes. They've been doing it for over 60 years, and now is the perfect time to schedule a free at-home deck consultation at bhrenovations.com to get that new deck ready for warmer weather. Ben Hill Renovations, creating raving fans since 1964. bhrenovations.com.
This is Rocco with another reason why you should always bring your European vehicle to Rocco's European Garage. No tax charged on any service at any one of our 6 locations through the month of April. That's zero tax on your bill. You'll receive the usual top-notch customer service, including upfront pricing, customer approval prior to beginning work, complimentary shuttle service, and a 3-day appointment window to get you back on the road quicker. And remember, guys, no tax this month on any service or repair at Rocco's European Garage.
Hi, I'm David Nicholas, financial advisor and president of Nicholas Wealth Management. It's hard to imagine, but one day in retirement, your income will stop. You may have been working for 30 or 40 years, but now you'll have to depend on the money you've saved for the next 30 years. How do you know if you've saved enough? What does it mean to spend confidently in retirement? One of the worst things that you can do is get to retirement and not know how much income your investments can produce. At Nicholas Wealth, we created a plan that will show you what your investments can potentially generate in dividends, interest, and growth in retirement. We call this our Spend Confidently plan. When's the best time to turn on Social Security? What are some of the best dividend-paying stocks available? Our CPAs and CFPs will show you what your income number is and how a diversified portfolio of income-producing investments could potentially provide you consistent monthly income. Our Retire Ready Income Report is a $1,000 value. We'll provide it completely complimentary if you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement and you give us a call in the next 10 minutes. Number to call is 404-890-5606. That's 404-890-5606, or you can go to nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth is an independent financial services firm that uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and the needs of any person. This is a paid advertisement.
It is 2:05, time for live team coverage of traffic and weather. In the 24-hour traffic center, it's Alex Williams.
Hey, good afternoon, Bill. Still watching the construction, 285 southbound, the outer loop before Highway 166, Langford Parkway, exit 5. 2 right lanes are blocked there. Looks like we've wrapped up the right lane construction, 20 eastbound around Wesley Chapel, but still seeing some westbound delays between Panola and Wesley Chapel there in DeKalb County. In downtown, on and off the brakes, heading southbound, starting to slow south of the 85-400 merge on 85 southbound. Take those brake lights into Midtown from 17th Street to North Avenue. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A mix of sun and clouds today, breezy and cooler as a cold front moves through. Highs in the upper 60s, low 70s, lows tonight in the mid 40s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high 71. Sunny skies on Thursday, highs in the mid 70s.
69 in Duluth, 68 in Austell, 69 in Stockbridge. More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The full number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very, very delighted to have you with me. Text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. If you want the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, so much more. Frank has been waiting an extraordinarily patient amount of time. I want to take his phone call before I move on to other things because it's kind of relevant to where we're headed. Anyway, Frank, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm pretty good, Eric.
Thanks for being patient with me.
Earlier you said that these Ivy League schools are screening foreign students for anti-American views, and I must disagree with you there. I think they're screening foreign students for protesting and opposing what Israel is doing in Gaza. Because I'm looking at a student there at Tufts University. I think her name is Ramisa Ozturk. She has been detained for writing an op-ed criticizing Israel's atrocities in the Middle East, in Gaza particularly. And the thing is, Eric, you talk about the protesters being anti-Semitic. I have a son that goes to one of these Ivy League schools, and I talk to him on a frequent basis. He's telling me that most of the protests at his particular school was organized by Jewish American students. So how the hell are you calling these people anti-Semitic if Jewish American students are participating, Jewish American professors are participating in these protests against what Israel is doing in Gaza?
Well, there are some very progressive American Jewish students and professors who are protesting, but actually the bulk of the protests are being organized by a group called Students for Justice in Palestine, which is a very far left group that many people have accused of taking foreign money, particularly from Qatar.
Well, I'll put it to you like this, Eric. I've seen rabbis in New York out protesting about what Israel is doing to the Palestinians in Gaza. Rabbis, Jewish rabbis.
Now, hang on a second, Frank. So, first of all, I got to say, for the record, Frank, you called in and said you wanted to talk about spending cuts and tax increases.
I did, but, when I heard you... When I heard you speaking about the Israeli...
So, okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm normally I would disconnect you, but you're passionate about this. So let me put it this way. There's been a lot of research done. Absolutely. Are there very progressive rabbis? Yes. But, you can actually go out and find people who call themselves Bible-believing Christians who are participating in gay weddings or justifying transgenderism. Doesn't make it so. I mean, same thing when you have a rabbi out there saying Israel is bad, doesn't mean that the rabbi is representative of the Jewish community any more than the lesbian Episcopalian pastor saying Jesus loves transgender kids and they were made that way and they're going to heaven and there's nothing wrong with it makes them Orthodox Bible-believing Christians. I mean, I assume that everybody understands that just because someone stands up and says, I'm a rabbi and I hate what Israel is doing, doesn't mean they're representative of the Jewish population. What we know about the protests, however, is that, yes, there are some American Jewish students who are deeply, deeply progressive who are participating in the protests, but they happen to be the minority. They're not the majority. They're not indicative of the majority. Actually, what is indicative of the majority of the people who are participating in the protests is that Students for Justice in Palestine, one of the largest funders of these groups, is actually rabble-rousing immigrant students into the United States who are actually protesting. Now, I will tell you, the girl who wrote the op-ed, I'm not sure we want to deport people who just wrote op-eds, but what the Trump administration says is they're not deporting her for writing an op-ed. They're deporting her because they say she participated in protests that included physically taking over property on campus. Now, I haven't been able to substantiate that fact, but that's their claim as to why they're deporting her. But I think it's actually deeply naive, deeply naive to claim that Jews are participating in the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses to any meaningful extent. Actually, what we know is happening on the college campuses is Jewish students are being harassed, they're being hunted, they're being bullied, they're being blocked from buildings. And Frank, you don't have to take my word for this. We actually have the video of this happening on college campuses. So I don't care what your son is telling you about what's happening on college campuses. I can see the video for myself and see the level of anti-Semitism in it. I can see the from river to sea chants, which are calls for the destruction of Israel, myself. I can see for myself these people are claiming the Jews are committing some sort of genocide in Gaza. And what I can also see, Frank, that you did not actually bring up, I would note, is that all of this started on October 7th when Hamas invaded Israel and killed about 2,000 Israelis and took a lot of hostages, some of whom are still there. And I would just note for the record how very interesting it is when people call in this program and they never actually want to bring up October 7th was the precipitating event. Because there was peace in Israel and Gaza on October 6th that all came crashing down on October 7th. Not because Israel invaded Gaza, but because Hamas invaded Israel and killed about 2,000 Israelis. I just find it very, very notable that people will bring up, I saw a rabbi protesting Israel, but they won't actually mention what Hamas did. Now, back to the phones. Amir, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric. This fits perfectly the last caller. My thing is, why is it not televised or reported more on these so-called protests against Palestine or against Israel, what they're doing to Palestine and all that? Like, what does have to do with praying in the middle of downtown New York City and holding up traffic and doing a prayer? And I feel like that has nothing to do with the protest. I feel like that this is just they want a reaction from, is the law enforcement going to do something? Is going to somebody infringe on their right of religious freedom? Is this, like, I think it's a provocation. And looking at England of what's going on, where they're having, like, look how many mayors are actually Islam religion followers. They're taking over certain court systems as well, trying to implement Sharia law. I myself, as a Muslim, I'm proud of my religion. I'm proud of calling myself Muslim. But what they're doing in those cities, what is going on, it has nothing to do, nothing with religion. All it is, it's hijacking the Islam religion and doing it in the name of some kind of religion, when all of that, there's a totally different thing going behind the background. And I feel like, why is nobody stopping this? Why are these people allowed to do this?
Amir, you bring up, particularly for those of you who didn't see it, I guess it was over the weekend, they took over Union State, or what was it, Grand Central Station in New York City. The pro-Palestinian protesters, they were blocking traffic. They were attempting to block trains in and out of the state. Didn't go well for them, trying to block the trains. But they were disrupting traffic. It wasn't a peaceful protest. And in fact, police had to be called to remove the protesters who were blocking people's entrance and exit of the station. At this point, by the way, they weren't even saying anything about Gaza. It was all anti-Israeli propaganda without actually even care or compassion for the people of Gaza.
Honestly, all I'm saying is, do your prayer somewhere else. Do your prayer at the mosque. Do your prayer at home. Clean up, wash up yourself. Do it the right way. Don't do this. Don't provoke everybody's just recording and staying around and seeing if somebody's going to, come in and say something negatively, and that's going to go wireless. I just feel like, I know we're talking about China being threat, Russia, this. I think there's a different threat coming, and if we don't do anything about it, we're going to be in England. England right now, I don't think it's reversible what's happening over there, and it's coming over here. And I don't want that. I don't want this in this country.
So listen, Amir, look, let me let you go there. I appreciate what you're saying. And, there actually is interesting data by a couple of think tanks that shows when a Muslim immigrant population exceeds 10% of an area, that the loudest voices in that population tend to become dominant in the politics of that area, and in particular, those tend to be the voices who want Sharia law and the like. And you see this there are small enclaves within the United States. You see it a lot in Great Britain. And so here's the notable part, and this gets to Amir's point, is that when it gets to 10%, the loud voices get dominant. But here's the thing. The people like Amir actually represent the majority of them. They don't want the imposition of Sharia law on the public. They don't want this hard-hearted politics that comes with it, and yet many of them get harassed and silenced, and the media disproportionately covers the loud voices. The media always covers the loud voices, the angry voices. This is happening in Great Britain, and it's wild to see. Look at the rape gangs in Great Britain. Groups of Pakistani men raping girls in parts of Great Britain. And what has the Labour Party decided to do? Instead of investigating the rape gangs, they've decided to make mandatory viewing in schools a Netflix documentary, and I use air quotes there because it's a fictionalized account of boys behaving badly in Great Britain. And in fact, the conservative leader in Great Britain was on BBC the other day and got chastised by the anchors for not watching this Netflix documentary, which she accurately pointed out revised key details of some of the cases that were sought to be profiled. And it is the Labor Party's refusal to investigate these Pakistani rape gangs because they don't want to disrupt local communities. They say they don't want to come across as anti-Islam. They're so busy being worried about offending people, they've broken the rule of law. And it's a shame to see in a place like Great Britain that they're not willing to be forceful with this stuff, and they're willing to round up prayer warriors outside abortion clinics. They claim they have free speech, and they don't. You do not have free speech in lots of Europe, particularly in Great Britain these days. The thought police will come for you for the things that you tweet. It's wild to see in Great Britain people getting arrested for things they've put on social media. It is a reminder they don't really have free speech. They've convinced themselves they have free speech. In an Orwellian sense, I guess they do. But in the real world, they simply do not have free speech in parts of Europe anymore, including Great Britain. And you can be punished for mean tweeting. You can be punished for misgendering. You can be punished for questioning whether or not Allah was the real prophet of God, or Muhammad was the real prophet of Allah. You could be punished for things, and it's just another reminder of how uniquely special this country is. And it's also uniquely interesting to see how many people on the left now want to curtail the First Amendment in this country. We can see it happening in Europe. That's why we should be aggressively pro-free speech in this country. We do not want to wind up like Europe. We do not want people censoring us in this country for our beliefs, whether our beliefs are right or wrong, whether the things we believe are factual or not, whether our opinions offend someone or not should not matter. It's our speech, and we should defend it.
Follow Eric on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
220 Cool Day Carrier, WSP 24-hour traffic center. Getting a little bit slower on the east side inner loop through Clarkson, 285 southbound. Seeing the brake lights pick up leaving Highway 78 as you make your way down to Memorial Drive. Also on the west side outer loop, construction still in 2 right lanes, 285 southbound. The inner loop, Highway 166, Langford Parkway. Brake lights back toward Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. And in Buckhead, they're clearing up a crash on Peachtree Road, right around Far Road, West Paces Ferry, causing for some brake lights in both directions on Peachtree. But again, the tow trucks are on scene, so that should be clearing. Traffic brought to you by Georgia Commute Options. With Georgia Commute Options, you can get more out of every mile, earn prizes, gift cards, and other cool deals when you switch from driving alone to a cleaner trip. More at mygco.com. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Wednesday on Atlanta's Morning News, breaking stories from overnight and the headline from the U.S. Attorney General's announcement in Atlanta. Plus, let's stay this cool. You'll hear our exclusive 5-day forecast on 95.5 WSB.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, from rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place. You know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in, we'll work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Hey homeowners, it's Eric Erickson here. Do your windows and doors stick? Are you noticing cracks in the drywall or the brickwork? You might have a big problem. Serious issues need the serious experts at Engineered Solutions of Georgia. Their skills are unmatched, as are their foundation solutions. When these guys repair a problem, it's the last time you'll have to worry about it. Done once, done right. Start today with a free inspection. Go to ESOGrepair.com. That's ESOGrepair.com.
Dial 678 ESOG now.
The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
At CertaPro Painters, we know that a happy place comes in many colors, like ones that inspire a sense of wonder, or a new flavor that makes life just a little bit sweeter, or one to celebrate those moments that lift you to new heights. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you can trust us to bring happiness home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
I have seen a lot of crass and craven political fundraising emails in my life. The people doing things to raise money that I just find beyond the pale, but I think a new low was probably reached today in my email box. And the subject line is Christ is Lord, He is risen. And then there is a graphic, do you believe Christ is Lord? And there is a rock sliding away from a tomb with light pouring out of it. And standing in front of it is Nancy Mace. Christ is risen. Christ is Lord. Do you believe that, Eric? It's Nancy Mace. As we celebrate Easter, I'm thanking Jesus, not just for the empty tomb, but for the fire in my soul to keep going. No weapon forged against you shall prevail. Isaiah 54:17. Let me remind you where I came from. Before Congress, I was a Waffle House waitress, hustling to survive. Eric, if you're a proud Christian who refuses to be silenced, I need you standing beside me. The left wants to erase Christ from American life, not on my watch. Say it with me this Easter. Christ is Lord. Can I count on you to chip in today and help me defend the truth in Congress? And please say a prayer for America. We need it now more than ever. Nancy Mace. Pitch in $25, pitch in $50. Fundraise for Nancy Mace off the murder of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his resurrection. That really is just like gross to me. That is a deeply gross fundraising email that anyone thinks it's appropriate to fundraise their political career off the murder and resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is just beyond the pale. I'm sorry. But I can't give a single penny to anyone who would send me a political fundraising email claiming, but for them in Congress, Christ cannot prevail. And because it's Easter and Jesus has risen, please give me money. That's just shameful to me. And I really have to doubt the sincerity of the faith of anyone who thinks a fundraising email like that is the way to get Christians to give money. And if you are a Christian who is compelled to give money based on an email like that, you might need to rethink your Christian faith. Politicians fundraising off of Jesus is not something any Christian should condone. What a wild, I could not believe it. When I literally just got this email. Nancy Mace, Christ is Lord, he is risen, and open it. It's a fundraising email, not for the church, not to help Christians, but to help Nancy Mace fundraise her political career. That's just so gross to me. So gross indeed. And yet here we are. Wild. Okay. When we come back, your phone calls, 877-973-7425. But before I get to anything else, when we come back, environmentalists are coming for something. First environmentalists told you needed to give up your large family to save the planet. Then you needed to give up kids to save the planet. Then you needed to give up your SUV to save the planet. Then you needed to give up your charcoal grill and your smoker to save the planet. Then you needed to give up your chocolate to save the planet. Then you needed to give up your beef to save the planet. Then you needed to give up your coffee to save the planet. Do you know what the left and the environmental movement now wants you to give up to save the planet? Your dog. That's right. You need to give up your pet ownership now.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. It's just in. There will be no tuition increase for most in-state students at Georgia colleges and universities next year. The tuition rates approved today by the State Board of Regents will include a 2% increase for out-of-state tuition and 3% for out-of-country tuition. This marks the 7th time in 10 years tuition costs have remained flat for Georgia students. News about your money.
We know that this is your money, not the government's. And we know that you know best how to spend.
Governor Kemp today signing 2 bills into law that could have a direct impact on your wallet. The first returns money from the state's surplus in the form of an extra tax refund. The second bill creates the largest income tax cut in Georgia history. Police investigating after a woman is shot and killed at a DeKalb County motel. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital after finding her at the extended stay motel on Crescent Center Boulevard around 7:30 this morning, but she died from her injuries. Police are asking anyone with information to give them a call. A Metro Atlanta man hopes to become the first person from Georgia over the age of 60 to reach the top of the world's tallest mountain. Retired Navy Lieutenant Commander Brian O'Malley begins his journey this week.
The median age of summiting Mount Everest is about 33 years old or so. So, guys, half my age.
He also hopes to raise money for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as part of the climb. 1 in 31 children are being diagnosed with autism before their 8th birthday in the U.S., according to findings from the Atlanta-based CDC. The latest numbers are based on medical records from 2022. In 2016, it was a rate of 1 in 54 8-year-olds diagnosed with the disorder. It is 2:32.
It's the active season here in the ATL. Are you going to be active or inactive because of chronic joint pain? Hey, it's Mark Aaron back from my pals at QC Kinetics. I want you to know something. The medical pros at QC Kinetics right here in Atlanta are on the case and focused to finally get you the relief you need. With QC Kinetics, the science solid. They give you your life back without surgery, without drugs, and without any downtime. Get out and be active this summer. Golfing, swimming, tennis. Heck, pickleball seems to be picking up speed. Get out there and be active. Don't let your chronic joint pain hold you back. Curious if you'd be a candidate for these treatments? No problem. Consultation totally free, and they're happy to take a look and see if they can help you finally get relief. Call now and find out how easy it is to get back to enjoying life without chronic joint pain. Now, the best time to get started. Call QC Kinetics now, 770-285-8026. That's 770-285-8026 for QC Kinetics.
Hi, this is Candace from X Ovations, and have I
I got a tip for you. But today, instead of giving you a home remodeling tip, my tip is don't just take my word for it. For over 20 years, you've heard me on the radio sharing remodeling advice. But if you really want to know what sets Exovations apart, go read our reviews. At exovations.com, you'll find hundreds of real stories from real homeowners who have trusted us with their exterior remodeling projects. From decks, siding, windows, doors, paint, roofing, porticos, and so much more. You'll see words like amazing work, incredible experience from start to finish, and again, stress-free. That's not just what we say, it's what our customers say. So yes, I'm Candace from Exovations, but don't just listen to me. Listen to our reviews. At Exovations, we do projects on time, on budget, and without all that stress. Google Exovations or visit exovations.com.
You've heard that comparison is the thief of joy? Did you know that comparison is also the thief of intimacy? Men, if you want to enhance your romance, eliminate any and all comparisons for your wife. Determined to make your wife the only beautiful woman in the world in your eyes. Exclusivity enables intimacy. Give your gaze, your glances, and your A game exclusively to your wife. This is Tom Gray, and This Stuff Matters.
ThisStuffMatters.net.
News is sponsored by Brett Beckers at 234 Alex Williams in the Traffic Center.
Better news on the west side perimeter. They're picking up the barrels from that construction that's been in two right lanes since about 9 o'clock this morning. 285 southbound, the outer loop, Highway 166, exit 5. That'll help out the ride as you leave Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. Elsewhere, watching some brake lights fill in for the afternoon. 285 east and southbound, the inner loop between Dorville, Tucker, and the Clarkston area. And downtown also getting slower. Plus 75-85 southbound from 17th Street down toward North Avenue. Northbound delays on and off University Avenue up to Peachtree Pine Street. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Partly cloudy and breezy, wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour today. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, because the truth is what matters. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. Before I tell you the environmentalists are coming for your dogs, Tim is calling from one of my favorite places on the planet, Fernandina Beach, Florida. If you've never been down there, Amelia, I love to go to. We've got some friends who live down there, and we don't get down there as much as we need to see our friends. It's a wonderful place, and I'm jealous that Tim lives there. But welcome to the show, Tim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm great. I would be better if I was in Fernandina.
Yes, the weather is beautiful here today. I want you to know I still listen to your show, even though it's sunny outside. I just take the radio out and listen to you.
I appreciate it.
Well, listen, I called because I wanted to comment. Like I said, I listen to your show every day, and you have great stuff. You have a plethora of knowledge and also information. But about your comment regarding the illegal immigrants and transiting through from the 14th Amendment and all. And, you know, I know you're a attorney, and I'm a former law enforcement from Virginia and all. And, you know, it's always about the letter of the law. The word transiting, though, back in the 1800s, like you said, was a different than it was today, because those immigrants are not transiting. They're coming here to live. They're not going through America to go to Canada. They're coming here to stay, like you said, to be and have those anchor babies. So would Pam Bondi or whoever that would be arguing this, would they be better off saying, hey, they're not transiting through, so therefore the 14th Amendment does not apply to them because they're coming here to stay and live. They're not transiting through.
They could, except so I was using that as kind of the how broad the interpretation was in the 1800s for it. So if you were pregnant and transiting through a country and gave birth in that country, you tended under the common law at the time and the civil law in Europe, your child would have dual citizenship. And that was the broadest possible case. But the more common scenario was someone moved into a country. And in those cases as well, in the 1800s, that child was considered to have dual citizenship. There were two exceptions under the common and the civil laws of Europe at the time. One was you were on the high seas and you were on a ship of a different nation. So you were a Frenchman on a British ship headed to the New World. In that case, if you gave birth on the ship, you were bound to the prince of your land was the language. So even though you were on a British ship, you were in the high seas, you weren't in anybody's territorial water, so you were bound to your country of nationality. The other situation was a diplomat or a member of the military, either an invader or with permission, a member of the military was there with spouse. At the time, there were no female soldiers, sorry, ladies, but you brought your spouse with you. Your spouse gave birth. You were considered bound to your native land. And all the other cases, the common law and the civil law, and you got to understand, they're like Louisiana has civil law in this country, everybody else has common law. Louisiana takes it from the Napoleonic Code. In France, civil law operates differently from common law, but the standard basis for France, for Germany, for Great Britain, and for their colonies at the time in the 1800s was if someone gave birth in their country or in their territories and colonies, they were bound to the crown of the colony, so their child was a citizen. Even if they weren't there with permission, their child would be. That was the standard operating common law in the 1800s, and that's where we then therefore interpret Wong Kim Ark as citizenship goes to the child of an illegal alien. Now, again, I want you to note that the guy who drafted the 14th Amendment said it wouldn't be so, and Wong Kim Ark was very specifically situated on the parents were here as legal aliens, not illegal aliens. And so the people who say no, illegal aliens who give birth, their children are not citizens. That's their hook. Is the author of the 14th Amendment said it wouldn't apply, and Wong Kim Ark very specifically did not apply to illegal aliens. But you need to understand the contrast. The prevailing rule in Europe at the time, where we derived a lot of the language and interpretation of the 14th Amendment, was someone who was in a country without that country's permission who gave birth, their child was actually a citizen of the land in which they gave birth. But the caveat at the time was the child had no legal right to, even though they had citizenship, they had no legal right to stay in the country because they were not wards of the state, but wards of the parents. The parents weren't citizens, so they had to leave the country, and they could come back when they were of legal age and exercise their citizenship. So there were no anchor babies, even if there was citizenship bestowed. Now, we're going to move on from that because I got to talk about the story. We're in Holy Week. The eschatology of the Christian is if you trust Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior, then you will have everlasting life in heaven. If you trust Jesus Christ, you will have eternal life with your Lord and Savior in heaven. That is Christianity 101. It doesn't matter, and this is very, very important, it does not matter that your neighbor doesn't believe in Jesus. You yourself get to Jesus. This is not a theology discussion, though. This is about environmentalists. But before we get there, I do think it's appropriate. Alistair Begg, who is a very famous pastor in the United States years ago, preached a sermon about for Easter on your individual salvation. And this is the very famous Alistair Begg sermon. If I can fire up Alistair Begg here, that was my fault. I had it in mute. Let's see here. Well, of course, my computer at the very end has worked the entire time. And at the very end of the program today has decided my computer wants to crash. So let's see. One more time. Reboot my computer. Come on, Apple.
If you were to die tonight and you were getting entry into heaven, what would you say? If you answer that, and if I answer it in the first person, we've immediately gone wrong. Because I believed, because I have faith, because I am this, because I am continuing. Loved ones, the only proper answer is in the third person, because he. Think about the thief on the cross. And what an immense, I can't wait to find that fellow one day to ask him, how did that shake out for you? Because you were cussing the guy out with your friend. You'd never been in a Bible study. You never got baptized. You didn't know a thing about church membership, and yet you made it. You made it. How did you make it? That's what the angel must have said. You know, like, what are you doing here? Well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, because I don't know. Well, you know, excuse me, let me get my supervisor. They go get the supervisor ranger. So, wait, just a few questions for you. First of all, are you clear on the doctrine of justification by faith? Actually, I've never heard of it in my life. And what about? Let's just go to the doctrine of Scripture immediately. This guy's just staring, and eventually, in frustration, he says, "On what basis are you here?" And he said, the man on the middle cross said, I can come. Now, that is the only answer. That is the only answer.
Now, that's Christian theology. Perfect time here at Holy Week to play that and contrast it to the environmentalists who tell you if you do everything right, you're still going to burn in hell on earth because your neighbor has too many kids. Your neighbor drives an SUV. You have to get rid of your kids because kids are mouth-breathing polluters, so we should have no kids. We should be like the Aztecs and sacrifice the kids for a better harvest. Sacrifice them to Moloch for more rain and better harvests. They want you to give up your kids. They want you to give up your SUV. They want you to give up your grill because the carbon output of burning the coal or even the pellet grill, God forbid, or then even the natural gas or the propane now, carbon output, you can't grill anymore. You got to get rid of your beef. You got to get rid of your pork because the carbon output, you got to eat the impossible meat, the beyond meat. You got to have that. You got to give it up. There's no salvation even for the environmentalists so long as their neighbors are allowed to eat beef. Then they came for the chocolate because the chocolate output, the carbon output of chocolate harvesting is so great. And now coffee, you know. The World Economic Forum, they talked about we need to use mushrooms. You know, there's this big movement online. They tried to get me to sell this. I was like, there is no way in hell I am going to sell a product that is mushrooms flavored like coffee. I refuse to drink mushroom coffee, and that's what they want you to do now is give up your coffee beans because the harvesting, the shipping, the roasting, now we got tariffs to ruin it. The tariffs on the coffee. You can't get rid of tariffs on coffee because we can't grow coffee enough in this country. You got to import it from Colombia or Costa Rica or Guatemala or Nicaragua or Africa or somewhere. You gotta bring in coffee. Light roast is better, has more caffeine and tastes better. But you got to give it up because the environmental footprint. So they want you to give up your kids, your SUV, your beef, your chocolate, your coffee. Now, my friends, they're coming for your dog. That's right. This is from Mother Jones, Left Wing New Magazine. Dogs have extensive and multifarious environmental impacts, disturbing wildlife, polluting waterways, and contributing to carbon emissions, new research has found. An Australian review of existing studies has argued that the environmental impact of owned dogs is far greater, more insidious, and more concerning than is generally recognized. While the environmental impacts of cats is well known, the comparative effect of pet dogs has been poorly acknowledged, the researchers said. The research, published in the journal Pacific Conservation Biology, highlighted the impact of the world's commonest large carnivore in killing and disturbing natural wildlife, particularly shorebirds. Not only that, the carbon footprint of pets is significant. A 2020 study found the dry pet food industry had an environmental footprint of around twice the land area of the United Kingdom, with greenhouse gas emissions equivalent to the 60th highest emitting country. Now, my buddy Fred sends me this other piece from Mother Jones that studying more than 1,000 locations around the United States, researchers from Colorado State University calculated the median emissions of growing 1 kilogram of cannabis to be around 3,600 kilograms of CO2 equivalent emissions. The amount varies from roughly 2,300 to 5,200 kilograms of emissions per kilogram grown depending on location. To put that in perspective, a kilogram of tomatoes grown in a British Columbia greenhouse heated with natural gas emits roughly 2 kilograms. In other words, you should be smoking tomatoes, not weed. They're coming for your weed, your chocolate, your coffee, your dogs, your cats. The environmentalists just want you to be a miserable person. They're also coming for your alcohol, you should know, because of the emissions of the carbon dioxide from the fermentation of beer and alcohol. Environmentalists wonder why they're losing. It's because their eschatology is bad. We're all going to die unless we give up every good thing in life. You should be a Christian, not an environmentalist. God calls you to be a good steward of the planet, but also to worry about yourself, not your neighbors. God's got this. He's got you. Just put your trust in him, not in the greenhouse gas emission estimates of environmentalists, please. Between banks collapsing, between the economy, the tariffs, we haven't even had time to get into the tariffs today. Swiss America has been warning about a secret war on cash. Have you seen what gold prices have been doing lately? It's crazy. Swiss America is the trusted leader in gold and precious metals, has been for 40 years. They've been warning people about the secret war on cash. Now, they're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Not a lot of these companies can say that. Swiss America can. They can educate you about protecting your assets. All you have to do is get a copy of their report, The Secret War on Cash. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can save your retirement finances, and it is completely free to you guys, my listeners. All you do is call or text 800-289-2646. The All Out War on Cash includes digital forms of currency. Also, environmentally contaminating, according to the environmentalist, crypto is. You need the Secret War on Cash report. You get it free. All you do is mention my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. When you call or text 800-289-2646, this is how easy it is. You text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to the phone number, 800-289-2646. They will send you back a link. You click the link, you put in your information, you will get their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free. It's 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
250 Coolray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Seeing the delays picking up out of Dunwoody into Sandy Springs on 285 westbound. The outer loop from Ashford Dunwoody Road as you make your way past Roswell Road. Downtown's getting slower southbound from the 85-400 merge down toward I-20 with northbound jamming up from I-20 passing Freedom Parkway. Construction gone. 285 southbound. The outer loop, Highway 166, Langford Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Learn more about their support of Common Threads and nutrition education at anthem.com/dream. Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the trade name of Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthcare Plan of Georgia, Inc. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
In Atlanta, there is always something happening.
Tanker truck crashed into the median.
The Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
No traffic getting through in either direction.
Helping you on your commute.
Avoid the area at all costs. Take Highway 155 or Highway 4223.
Brought to you by the Coolray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It's your money. Get it sooner. All you need is direct deposit with a checking or savings account at Coosa Valley Credit Union. This is Andy Harris, president of Coosa Valley Credit Union. Not only can you get your money sooner, but we believe in kinder banking where you deal with real people in person. So come see us.
Hey, homeowners, it's Eric Erickson. You wouldn't trust Mac with a jack to fix your home's sinking foundation problem, would you? I certainly wouldn't. Serious issues need serious experts at Engineered Solutions of Georgia. Their skills are unmatched, so are their foundation solutions. When these guys repair a problem, it's the last time you'll have to worry about it. Done once, done right. Start today with a free inspection. Go to ESOGrepair.com. That's ESOGrepair.com.
Dial 678 ESOG now.
For many women in our community, support for our physical and mental health feels out of reach.
When your workday is long.
And your budget is tight.
And your village is busy.
And the road between home and help is a 6-lane highway with no crosswalk.
Northside Hospital believes women deserve better.
Northside is rolling up our sleeves and getting to work.
We got your house call.
Heard.
Learn more at northside.com/heard.
Hey, it's Scott Slade for FGA Roofing. If your home's exterior could use an updated look, or maybe one of your neighbor's designer roofs has caught your eye, and your current roof has started to show its age, then now's the perfect time to check out FGA Roofing for the latest in architectural shingles, timberland shingles, and more. Slate, tile, wood shake, cedar roofs, FGA has them all. FGA Roofing offers 0% financing for 12 months with your good credit. Get the roof you want now and pay over time. Click firstgaroof.com. That's firstgaroof.com.
When you need quality professional tree work, choose Heath Tree Service. Hi, I'm Jimmy Heath. My father started Heath Tree Service over 60 years ago, and we're still family owned. Certified arborists and experts with trees. Find us at heathtreeservice.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 10 million people without destroying your credit. They can reduce your interest rates, lower your total payments up to 50% to get you out of debt fast. For a free consultation, call Consolidated Credit now. The program works.
Call 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298.
Consolidated Credit Solutions Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Kansas CSO 0019051. Maryland DM 1492. Oregon DM 892. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, license number DC83. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action. Actual interest rates, length of program, and monthly payment reductions will vary by consumer and creditor. Yours could be higher or lower. Not a loan company. We do not lend money.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
All the information without the spin. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Well, this is my moment to aggravate the audience. I saved it for the end today. Let's talk about tariffs. So Kevin Hassett is the president's economic advisor. He was on with Larry Kudlow.
Speaking of GDP, I think you mentioned GDP and the economy. You're saying there's 100% no chance of recession.
Right now, the data are so strong. You've seen the jobs numbers. And we also, as you know, when we're in the White House, we get to talk to CEOs and say, what are you seeing with your orders and so on. And people are really actually euphoric that things are moving way better than the media would have you believe. And so I'm not saying that you can't have a GDP number that's a little bit disappointing or surprising. GDP now still thinks that Q1 is going to be weak. But if you look at the blockbuster jobs numbers that we've been seeing and the low inflation, which takes all the pressure off for the Federal Reserve to be worried about they're going to have to act because of inflation, that it's really a sweet spot of growth right now. And
that's Kevin Hassett. Now, here's what you need to know. Scott Bessent is the Treasury Secretary, and he has his entire career been deeply anti-tariff and believes tariffs hurt the economy. Kevin Hassett is the president's economic advisor, who you just heard talking to Larry Kudlow, deeply anti-tariff and has been for his career. The data from the New York Federal Reserve Bank suggests that short-term labor or inflation expectations are increasing and labor market is expected to deteriorate. That is from the survey released yesterday by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York Center for Microeconomics, showing that household inflation expectations have increased, remaining unchanged for the medium term and ticking down the long-term horizon. Unemployment, job loss, and earnings growth expectations have deteriorated, with household income growth expected to decline. There are more and more warning indicators out there that we are headed to a recession. Scott Bessent and Kevin Hassett have for a very long time been opposed to tariffs. They are now defenders of tariffs in public on television, and I'm fine with that because their entire history in public life has been opposition to tariffs. And so I do strongly believe that behind the scenes, they're probably trying to moderate and mitigate the president's positions. The thing here is that If you had people who in their entire professional careers were opposed to something who then started defending it because they worked for a president who supported it, if it was a Democrat, you would say they probably don't believe what they're saying in public. The wild thing is that at this moment, a lot of Trump supporters are saying, no, they must believe it. They're on television saying it despite everything in their career, claiming to be opposed to it. You know, these are politicians and political people who are in corridors of power who might be saying things in public they may not actually believe. The data is starting to warn that a recession may be coming, and major banks are starting to say there may be no recession, but there probably will be an economic slowdown of reduced growth ahead. Are we going to believe the politicians or the economic data? That also told us when Biden was president we were probably in a recession, and the talking heads in D.C. said, no, we're not. No, we're not. They revised definitionally what a recession meant, and none of us believe them. So why should we start believing the politicians instead of the data that has constantly been warning us of the things that we future experience? I don't know.
WSB